Hello and good evening, everyone. Happy Tuesday night, and welcome to episode 3 of Top 5. Well, we are going to be ranking our top 5. I almost said Metroidvanias, but that was episode number
You
1.
were
We're going to
there.
be ranking our favorite Zelda games tonight. So, as always, I have my awesome co-host. I did it the right way this time. Jason, thank you for joining me for another awesome episode. And we got 2 amazing guests. We had a couple more planned, but they had to drop out. So we will be doing a Zelda ranking part 2 at some point. We don't have that on the books yet, but eventually we'll be doing that and they'll be able to hop into that one instead. But tonight we have my, what's the word I'm looking for? Cohort in crime for achievement hunting, Dude 1286. What's up, dude?
Howdy. In quite a few of these games, I've actually achievement hunted myself anyways on retro achievements. So
yes, I'm pretty sure everything that we're probably going to be mentioning probably has a retro achievement set for the most part, except for a couple. And yeah, this guy is
depending on how new people are going to go.
Yeah, depending on how new everyone gets. And then we have my eternal person in conflict, Melee K.
Hey, I started
Mace
it.
would do. All of you already bickering with me. We just got here. What's going on?
I haven't said anything yet.
Yeah, but you're not forgiven for last time.
No.
There's things that we have to work through now, Jason, after our little Mario escapade.
There's a video of that clip out on my channel. I think it was the last thing on my channel. I clipped out that segment of our what were we rating? Mario games.
Mario. Yeah.
And you guys arguing about Smash Brothers.
Yes, that was fun.
Oh,
so, well, and man, before we even started, the chat has been blowing up. What's up, everyone in chat? BD Jake, JT Epsilon.
A lot of people.
Wait with your horrible take that goes along in the line of James's terrible take, which is why he's not on this panel. But he also hasn't played a whole lot of Zelda games yet. So, but Kay is an expert, so that's why she is.
Oh
here.
God, expert label. Uh-oh.
And Cult of Carl's here, and James is in the chat. Welcome, everybody. Thank you for joining us for Zelda ranking top 5. I've been sick the last week. You could probably still hear it. I'm still a bit plugged up, so you have to bear with me if I go into a coughing fit at any time. Feeling pretty good, just kind of plugged up. But with that,
chat for Neo.
What's up?
See, when you get rid of it, I'm starting to come down with it.
Oh my God. Dude, be careful. All the co-hosts are going to get attacked by this disease.
I hope not. I have to go into work on Thursday.
So, oh, you know what? Hold on a second. I forgot to write out some things on my notes, so let me refer back to my Metrovania notes.
I'm about to say you have notes.
I do have notes.
Yeah,
So,
notes.
I forgot to put the outline up, so I'm just going back to my Metrovania notes to remember what I asked on that one. So,
There we go. That sounds familiar.
So,
I hope you have something to drink near you.
I do.
Yeah,
I have my water
hydrate.
bottle. I just filled it up, so I'll be drinking that here.
Guys, if you're in chat and you're new to this channel, please go give Nerdy Neo a follow. He does awesome stuff. The man is coughing to death right now, and he's still hosting the show just because he wants to see me yell at everyone else about Zeldas. You muted yourself, sir, but I assume that was intentional.
Yeah, sorry, I muted it while I was coughing. I was saying that's part of it. But anyway, so when we to start off, first thing I wanted to go around is ask everyone what was their introduction to Zelda. For me, I went over to a friend's house and I played a few minutes of the original NES Zelda, and I thought it was really dumb and boring, and I didn't want to play any more of it. Yes, that one right there. And so, I mean, I was probably like 4, maybe 5 at the time, because this was even before I got my own first console, which was the Super Nintendo. And I didn't play any Zelda until N64 era. I went over to another friend's house, and I think that was like middle school, and he had Ocarina of Time, and I played it a little bit there. I have that exact cartridge as well. And I was like, okay, this looks kind of cool. But it was, I don't remember whether I got it for my birthday or for Christmas or whatever, but I had a Game Boy Color, and someone got me Link's Awakening DX. And so that was the first Zelda I played in its entirety, and that's what actually got me into the Zelda franchise. Once I had played that, and next time I went over to that friend's house and played Ocarina of Time, I was like, okay, I'm really liking this now. And then I got Ocarina of Time, and that was and that was pretty close together. So Link's Awakening and Ocarina of Time were like my main intros into the franchise. So curious where everyone else started on the Zelda franchise.
For me, same thing. I started with the first one. I did the whole thing where you get Nintendo Power, try to figure out the maps and all that kind of stuff. Enjoyed it. But as we were doing this escalation on trying to figure out what these top fives were, I went back and I played every Zelda game. And yeah, I have some takes on Zelda that I think I didn't think I had before doing this top five. Going through it, I'm like, oh man, I have Zelda on this pedestal, but as playing every game, oh man, Link decided to kind of jump down that pedestal more than I thought he did. So it's going to be kind of interesting hearing everybody's, and I honestly understand everybody's take on games, but a lot of the top five games that you guys are going to be saying, I'm definitely going to be like, yeah, I can see that, but if it's my top five, yeah, they might not be there. So yeah.
All right, dude. What about you? What was your?
For me, I got my start back on the Super Nintendo. This is still my original cartridge.
Nice.
And I even have my old last name still put on the permanent marker whenever I was doing all that. But I have actually tried to fix it, and I did have these two at my grandparents' house, but because I only ever played it when I was at my grandparents' house, which was very little amount of time, I never really got too into them. And then of course with the N64 games, I got those pretty much day one.
Nice. And you remind me, you developed some of the achievements on Link's Awakening, right?
I did the original Link's Awakening and
Link to the Past,
both versions of Link to the Past.
So yeah, he coded the achievements.
And I also did the achievements for I did the original set for the Oracle games as well.
That's right, the Oracle games as well. So yeah,
I've done 4 games.
This guy really knows his Zelda too. Not Zelda 2, but like Zelda also. And Kay, what about you? What got you started on Zelda?
It feels kind of boring to say, but like, yeah, I played some of the NES Zeldas here and there. It didn't really grab my interest. A Link to the Past would have been the first game that really grasped me, and I ended up beating that game first. And then, of course, I went on to the N64. The games that anytime I talk about, the sunglasses come on. They're right here, guys. Don't worry. Yeah, and then from there, I was just every single time a Zelda would come out on a mainline console, I would be jumping to that next. So GameCube ended up being it. Then I would go back and play like some of the handheld ones, but I was more of just like the mainline Zeldas, like A Link to the Past, Ocarina of Time, Majora's Mask, Wind Waker, so forth.
Okay, cool. All right. And before we get into our top eyes, just curious what the most recent Zelda game that you played was.
Probably Breath of the Wild for me.
Most recent and like release or just like
release or
yeah.
No, just whatever one you played most recently.
Oh, the one I played most recently was the Oracle games. I played those on stream, getting the achievements that they added. Way after I stopped developing achievements and they changed guidelines.
Oh, that's right.
I pretty much had to play through each game twice because of the way those achievements were designed, but that's how the games were designed. So
yeah, because they're very interconnected to each other.
Yeah, there's different things you can do whenever you start one versus and then go to the other. Like there's certain side quests that are added in the second part of the game. So if you go from ages to seasons, you get extra things in seasons, and when you go to from seasons to ages, you get extra things in ages.
Okay. Yeah, I had to think about it because I was like, what was the last Zelda game I played? I think the last Zelda game I played was Skyward Sword.
Mine's a cop-out answer because, like I said, I've been doing my homework, all of them. But if I had to say out of all of them, I believe Minish Cap was the last one that I played.
Okay.
Out of all of them.
I never played that in its entirety. So when I start getting back into playing some of these games through retro achievements, that's definitely on my list.
Just be careful. I know this is in the game itself, but there are some really painful collectibles in that game compared to the other Zeldas, and that's just
Hmm.
the game itself, not Retro Achievements doing it.
Gotcha.
Yeah, I mean, for me too, I think A Link to the Past would, because I have a few Zeldas that, like, if I'm just bored and I'm sitting on the couch, sometimes I just want to get a feel of this for like 30 minutes because it's a good game. So I think A Link to the Past would have been my last one. Just casually had the Nintendo Switch Online open and was like, I'm gonna play Mario World. I'm gonna play this, that. Sure, A Link to the Past for 20 minutes.
Okay, nice.
I think when I played A Link to the Past on stream last time, I had to play through it twice because there's an achievement for beating the game without any bottles,
Oh,
and
okay.
that kind of breaks up getting some of the other achievements because there's achievements for beating certain bosses with things you get in bottles. So,
Yeah.
and I ended up beating the game in like 6 hours.
Nice. Yeah, that's definitely one I need to play through again because it's been a very long time for me.
I see chat, and they're all simping for Linkle.
Okay, what? Yeah, I saw everyone's calling this Linkle. I thought it was a typo at
Linkle?
first.
Yeah.
What the heck is Linkle? Someone's gonna have to fill me in
It's
on that
literally gender bent Link.
one. Oh, okay.
She's not even the best waifu from that game.
Which game is that?
Hyrule Warriors.
Oh, that's an actual character?
Yes.
Oh, I thought it was like a fan.
She uses double
thing.
crossbow. She uses double crossbows.
Okay. So what would be the
Sia is better in every way.
So if Linkle is the female Link, what would be the male Zelda?
They didn't do that.
All right. Well, with that, we will get into our top fives, starting with number 5, working our way up to our number 1. So I'll go ahead and start off with mine. We were just talking about it a minute ago. For me, is Oracle of Ages. I had the. I know I've mentioned it before in another stream about another franchise, but me and a buddy. That's what it was. Me and one of my friends at the time. Whenever a game came out with like 2 different versions, he would get one and I would get the other. Like on Mega Man Battle Network 3, I got the blue version, he got the white version. So for Oracle, he got Oracle of Ages, or I got Oracle of Ages, and he got Oracle of Seasons. However, in both cases, he sold his copies of those games before we swapped, so I never got to play Seasons yet. But I did play Oracle of Ages a number of times, and I'm pretty sure that's the only time that Capcom has ever published a Zelda game, which I thought was
2 times. They did it 2 times.
They did Minish Cap as well.
Oh, okay. I did not know that. Okay.
And Seasons has a lot of references to the original Zelda game.
Cool.
On the NES.
But yeah, I thought that was interesting that Capcom was doing a Zelda game. I'm curious, does anyone know like the business logistics behind the scene on how/why that happened?
I think they just developed it.
But
they had oversight from Nintendo.
Okay. Mm-hmm. Yeah, Capcom published the Oracle games and the Oracle of Ages. You go back and forth through time solving different puzzles because some things will be different in the past than in the future, and sometimes you have to put a rock somewhere, and then in the future there would have been a river there, and now it's blocked, stuff like that. Oracle of Seasons, obviously you go through the different seasons. Like I said, I never actually played it in its entirety, but you do have control of the seasons, and you use that to solve puzzles as well. But the Oracle of Ages, I had a lot of fun with that. And yeah, like we were saying a few minutes ago, they are linked together. So you can do things in one, and then I think it gives you a code or something. Do definitely knows more about it, that you take into the other one, and it'll change how that game plays out. And you have to do both of them if you want to get the true ending, which I never actually got because I never played the seasons. But that was pretty cool. I probably like the Zelda's version of the Pokemon thing where they have the red and blue version. And
except it's actually way more unique.
Yeah, there were way more to it though. And there were rings that were in one version that weren't in the other, right?
Yep. And there were some rings you can only get in the second quest. So you literally had to go through each game twice to get every ring. Yeah.
And there was that was right. There were cool like animal companions that had different abilities. That was pretty cool. But yeah, Oracle of Ages was my number 5, and I had a lot of fun with that game. So, Jason, what about you? Want to start off with your number 5?
Yeah. So let's Let's all pile on me. So yeah, like I said during the Zelda thing, so Link to me has kind of fell off this. Like, yes, the games are great. For the homework that I did and all this stuff, I can't say the games are bad in any way. But as I was playing them, just everything kind of went down for what I was playing. I'm like, okay, this is fine, but do I want to play this all the time? No. So for my number 5, I put Breath of the Wild, but it's a big but. I only put shrines only because I don't care for Breath of the Wild at all, but I like the shrines. Like going into the shrines and doing all the puzzles and everything like that. To me, that's fun. But the moon and all that kind of stuff, the red moon, and then the pairing system with the guardians, all that stuff, I didn't care for it as much. So yeah, but again, if you give me a game that's just, it was a game of shrines and just completed with all the cool stuff that the Switch can do, I had fun. I mean, other than that, I didn't.
What if there was like a Mario Maker, but it was a Zelda Shrine Maker game?
That would be for sure on my list. That would for sure be on my list.
Okay. Yeah, I don't have a Switch, so I haven't played Breath of the Wild yet, but I know it's kind of has it's a bit different than the traditional Zelda game, so it can be a little polarizing. I know it did very well, as did Tears of the Kingdom, but I know some of the more Zelda purists weren't big fans of it, as many of the people who I've had on and talked to Zelda about were not big fans of it. So, but cool. And had a couple others hopping in chat. I'll say, what's up, Insidious Bliss? Good to see you, buddy. Paul, good evening, bro. And Real Wade Nation's here. What's up, Wade? Good to see you guys. So, Kay, you want to hit us with your number 5?
Sure. Yeah, I can talk about my number 5. Also, I am one of those polarizing Zelda fans that despises Breath of the Wild. I think it's an awful direction for the series to go in, and I'm afraid that after that and Tears of the Kingdom, they're going to continue that way, and I think Zelda's going to be ruined. But I won't digress too far from my own opinion on number 5. My number 5 is Twilight Princess. I think it is the perfect balance between the darker atmosphere that Majora's Mask kind of brought, but it still has a bit of the Ocarina of Time elements with some nice polish to it. I love the wolf as dude showing there. I love that transformation. I love the mystery around who's the guy training you. You obviously find out through the story like what's going on there. And it's got a bit of like an Alice in Wonderland touch to it with some of the themes in the game when you go into the cities, some of the like costume design, stuff like that. So I just think Twilight Princess is like a really well polished Ocarina of Time. And it definitely deserves like the number 5 spot.
Okay. And curious, which version did you play?
I played the GameCube version. I also have tried the Wii version. I didn't beat it on the Wii though. So
okay.
Yeah.
Cool. Yeah. Awesome. All right. Yeah, dude's pulling up his awesome collection.
Yeah.
All his amiibos.
Oh yeah, the amiibos are behind me. Yeah, they're always behind me.
You had the Wolf Link amiibo you pulled up a second ago, right?
Yeah, it's the box is open, but the Wolf Link amiibo is still in there with the because whenever you open this up, it still has like the regular amiibo packaging. It's still completely in box.
Okay.
See. Of course, the game's been played.
Of course. Yeah, Paul said, "Someone name a game and watch dude pull it out." You're not far off. He could probably do that
for this stream. I can do that.
So, dude, what is your number 5?
My number 5 is actually going to be Link's Awakening.
Okay.
I got all 3 versions of it. I haven't played the remake yet, and I've only played the DX version briefly. But one of these days, I need to go back and get the achievements for the DX version because they actually did add a separate set of achievements for it.
Okay, so you played because I never played the original. I've only played the DX version.
Yeah,
so.
The main difference is that it doesn't have that one
The
color dungeon, and it's all in black and white pretty much.
Yeah,
but the crazy thing is that the first time I actually played this game was when I was creating achievements for it.
Oh, okay. So you didn't play it like when you were a youngin'.
Yeah, I played it recently, and I I really enjoyed it. It's just a lot of fun. Even the overworld is kind of built like a dungeon itself. So even as you're going through the overworld, it's like, okay, how do I get to the next part? It's not just here it is, go to it. You actually have to figure out how to get into that section of the overworld and how to get into the dungeon itself.
Yeah, that's true.
It's also
Yeah.
unique that it doesn't have just Zelda enemies. It actually has some Mario enemies too.
Yeah, there's
like a chain chomp.
Chain chomp in the main village right at the beginning.
You even get to take it out for a walk.
Yeah, that's right.
So that's fun.
There was.
I mean, when you get a chance to play the Switch one, I mean, I was a fan of the Switch one too. I mean, I'm again, it's me, but I kind of like the ideas. The toyification is pretty cool.
From what I can tell, the remake actually does it justice.
Yeah, that's another one I'm looking forward to playing the Switch remake.
There is a remake that later that I will talk about because it is in my top. The original is in my top 5, but that remake completely ruined it.
Oh, okay.
I won't say which one it is though.
Yeah, not yet. But yeah, from what little I've seen of the Switch version of Link's Awakening, that looks like they took like all the respect in a because that's like a full-on remaster, not or what would you call that? A remaster or remake? That one you really could.
It's more of a remaster, even though it's completely rebuilt from the background up. It still feels more like a remaster
because it's like exactly the same game, just prettier.
Yeah.
So that's the way like all remasters / remakes should be handled. Because from what I've seen, and I haven't heard any complaints about it, but I'm definitely looking forward to playing the Switch version eventually. So, all right.
Yeah, and I'm always a fan of when Nintendo does like their yarn stuff for Yoshi and their now toyification for Link. So anytime they can add just whatever spin they can, I like that kind of stuff.
I hope they actually do something similar that they did for this one for the season for the Oracle games.
That would be cool.
Do the exact same thing.
Mm-hmm.
All right, so we will go ahead and move on to number 4. And I will go ahead and start us off right now since we're on the topic, because my number 4 is Link's Awakening, specifically DX, because that was the only version I played so far. And like I said, that was really the Zelda game that got me into the Zelda franchise. That one... No, I was going to say it's the one I played through the most, but it's the one I played through the most as a kid because it was the first one. So, back then we didn't have thousands of games like we do, nowadays in our library. So our library is much smaller, so I didn't have as much to pick from, but I played through that one a lot and I really liked it. I haven't played it probably since the Game Boy Color, so it's been a long time. But I'm definitely looking forward to playing through it again via retro arc at some point. But yeah, Link's Awakening, and like I said, I'm looking forward to playing the Switch version as well to see if it lives up to the image in my head that I have of it, and I think it will.
I think so too.
So,
AK, you might want to keep an eye on your online purchases with James in the chat.
Why? What's going on now?
Where's my mouse? There it is. James is going online to see if Linkle body pillows exist.
Have you seen our collection of like those mouse pads we have with they're like pretty much built-in boob cushions at your wrist when you're using a mouse? We have a lot of those. So
I've seen James.
This is just par for the course.
I've seen James's katana one because I think he showed it off yesterday or a couple days ago. But I did not know you had a collection of them.
There's a few. We have like some World of Warcraft ones as well. I don't know.
I bought my brother one as a gag gift.
Yeah, though they're kind of great though. They're good. Like if you have any wrist pain or anything, just put one of those on. Rest your hand on some boobs.
Vanquish is here. What's up, Vanquish? Good buddy. I respect the hell out of the series. I flashed her playing the OG very first Zelda, the gold card, which dude showed off earlier.
I'll show it again.
That one right there. It's so shiny.
Give us nostalgia.
Much shinier than the N64 ones.
Yeah.
So.
The original Zelda game was also released on a great cartridge as well. I just didn't bring it out.
All right. Let's do reverse order on this one. Dude, why don't you give us your number 4?
I'll go ahead and go with number 4, and that will be Ocarina of Time. Now, this is not the remake that actually is terrible. This is actually a really good remake. I think the only thing I would say is maybe some of the darker areas were a little too lightened up, like the bottom of the well and the Shadow Temple. But like as a remake, this is actually a really good way to play the game, the 3DS version. Of course, this is just the way to play it on the GameCube. It's just literally the N64 version.
Yeah, that's the one I
But,
was thinking of when we were talking before the stream. I'm like, that's not really a GameCube game. It's just an N64 game on the GameCube.
Yeah, but you forgot about the other one. The other
Yeah.
one that I held up earlier.
So we'll see if that one comes
So,
up.
but of course, Ocarina of Time. There's not much to say. It kind of revolutionized the 3D adventure game at its time, and as time has gone on, I'll talk about this later. But it's kind of derivative of a previous game. But other than that, it's just really cool because for a lot of people it came out around the time where people were hitting that time where they wanted to no longer be kids and be adults. And then Link becoming going from being a kid to an adult was actually pretty cool. And then all the secrets that like the gold Skulltulas was really cool. And then because I always try to make it so I'd go and grab all 100 of them.
Yeah, lots of so many hidden things all over the place.
Yep. But this is also one of the games I think this is one of the few games I played the most outside of Metroid Prime well, I've done Donkey and of course Donkey Kong Country games.
Okay.
And Super Metroid.
Good list of games to play a lot of times.
Yeah.
Oh, you know what? That just gave me an idea. But all right. Okay, what is your number 4?
You guys thought that I was going to come in here all heated like I was in the Mario discussion. And yet,
I didn't.
guess what? Dude and I have the same opinion. Ocarina of Time is my number 4 as well.
Oh, dang.
Yeah, I think, again, the thing is we're ranking top 5 Zelda games, and there's a lot of really good Zelda. So saying that it's a number 4 is by no means an insult. To me, that is a compliment. So you're among giants. And a lot of us, of course, have nostalgia for Ocarina of Time, as Dude kind of mentioned as well. For me personally, my perspective, it was one of the first Zeldas I felt I could kind of live and breathe in. And it just felt like a cool environment to, kind of hang out in. It's kind of like a GTA sometimes, right? You don't have to always go on the main mission. You can just go off and do little side quests, kind of live and breathe in that world. I always thought it was like a really great size. And I love all the weapons involved, everything. Of course, we got the 3DS version, which I would consider the superior version because it fixed things like the iron boots, for example. But even going back and playing the N64 version, though it's like, it doesn't pop the same way the 3DS version does, I do still prefer overall the N64 version just for the way the atmosphere is. And it's a perfect coming of age story. Like you mentioned, right? You jump ahead 7 years, all of a sudden everything is in turmoil. You have to save the world. So you get to be young, play around in this kind of playground, try to figure out what's going on. Then all of a sudden, kind of hits the fan. I'm trying not to swear on Nerdy Neo show. It hits the fan. And now you have to really, pull your boots together and save the world. So I just thought it was always a perfect hero's journey story. And it's probably in my top 25 games of all time. But with this list, it's a 4 for me.
All right.
Also, one more thing I forgot to mention. When I played the 3D game, I went through the game normally. And then when I went through the Master Quest version, which even increases how much damage you take, I did it on the 3-heart challenge.
Oh my God.
Nice.
So anytime I got hit by a Stalfos, I actually died instantly. Because they take 3 hearts in that level.
Dude, the masochist.
Seriously.
Yep. Nope.
Yeah, no,
I
I played a lot of times, but I've never done the 3-heart challenge before. But I feel like I probably could do it if I wanted to. Is there an achievement for that?
For the N64 version, yes, there is a 3-heart challenge. Actually, they pretty much made that for every game that's available for.
Okay.
A Link to the Past, you have to collect the heart containers when you beat the bosses, so that you can't do the 3-heart challenge in that.
Gotcha. Okay.
But every other game, it pretty much is in there.
All right. And Jason, what is your number 4?
So, out of all of our top 5s, I mean, granted, it's only been 3 episodes. I've noticed my number 4 has been the kind of controversial pick for me. So I think this continues going on. But I was going through all the Zeldas, all the great ones that you guys are naming, and I'm like, yeah, I can understand from where they're coming from, how good they were, but is it a top 5 in my aspect? Like, is it a top 5 game of all time? Sure, but is it a top 5 Zelda game that I want to play? But my number 4, I put Cadence of Hyrule, because I I love that game. I mean, when I play Zelda, I love the music. To give me a story that's pretty much gameplay is based off the music, I mean, I can't ask for more. I mean, if it wasn't for what my top 3 for sure were when we came up with this, that might be higher in my list, but I had to put that number 4.
What
I have no
played-
rhythm, so I wouldn't be able to play that game as much.
Yeah, well, first of all, the rhythm in that game, I hate Crypt of the Necrodancer. I thought I would be into that,
I can
but
barely
I
keep
just,
a rhythm in Guitar Hero.
it's something about that game just feels off. But I'm curious, like in Cadence of Hyrule, like how does the story, does it relate to the other stories that you see? Like, would you expect this to be in the timeline of Zelda? You know, like when you have the breakdown, Ganon wins, Ganon loses. Like, do you see that being in the timeline anywhere?
Or is it more of like a
Is
Necrodancer
it more of like a
game with a
spin-off?
Zelda skin?
Yeah.
Yes, that's a tough one, because when you talk about Zelda and timelines, do we really know what the timeline is? They show us what it is all the time, and it's here to here to here to here to here to here. So
We
I
have an
mean,
idea
I mean,
up until this
Yeah.
point,
up
right?
until Ocarina of Time, it's a single, and then it goes into 3.
yeah.
Yeah.
So I mean, if that's the case, and yes, it's a skin of another game, but just different gameplay. But so yeah, I guess it would be more of a skin, but just of maybe a game in the prior in the timeline, I guess is what I'm trying to say, because somebody shows up and you can choose, Link or Zelda, and you can go down that road and kind of do the stuff that way. But I mean, I don't know. It's now that I started talking about, it's probably more of a reskin, but with this Zelda as its main focus in a way. So yes, could it be on this list? Should it be on this list? Maybe, maybe not. Again, my number 4 usually kind of throws things off for the last couple times. So
Hey, it's your guys' show. You guys
Yeah,
create the criteria
yeah.
you want, but I just in my brain, I didn't even consider that a Zelda game purely because to me,
I
it
think
seems
Hayes
like
is
a
happy it's
reskin.
not your number 1 like it is with James and his.
Yeah.
Oh
That's
no,
not
James, he's not even close.
But
That's not even close to being
I think
a Zelda game.
even though I really despise the Hyrule Warriors answer, and for those who don't know, that originated from a conversation James and I had way before we were streaming. We had our friend Elvis over, and we had a party, and it was like maybe 6 in the morning. We're all like kind of coming down from our drinks and relaxing, and Hyrule Warriors comes up as his favorite Zelda game, and Elvis and I just screamed at him for like another few hours. So we were up until like 9 in the morning, just being like, "No, this is completely wrong." That's where that comes from. And it's been a debate ever since. But regardless of that opinion, I still think that Hyrule Warriors has a bit more relation to the timeline than Cadence of Hyrule, personally. I may disagree with Hyrule Warriors being like I think it's a Dynasty Warriors skin, but I do think that it has a bit more relation than Cadence of Hyrule. Because there's a lot of story element, like it relates to specific games in the series, and then it just shows like revisionist history of those games.
Yeah, that's why it's kind of interesting the tip. Like, that's why, like, as I'm saying it, like, I can see that, but again, it's one of those kind of gameplay mechanics and just kind of revisiting. I mean, Link is the master of time and all that stuff. So like, we're just kind of going through another way of like, hey, this is more history, but we're just going and telling it by like, it's his history, but like the musical almost in a way.
I mean,
hate
I just
musicals so
don't. I haven't played the game, so I wouldn't know where it would fit in the timeline. To be honest,
I actually started that question by genuinely because I haven't beat Cadence by rule. I don't know
Yeah.
how it fits in the timeline, so it wasn't even a criticism. It's
Yeah.
literally what
No,
James said.
Never.
I
played
mean,
it
it,
either.
as we keep going down this list, you'll kind of see which, kind of shock what my number one's going to be. But it kind of starts with the feel of being what my number one game is, but just kind of telling different ways and kind of pretty much like I said, it's a tell of a bunch of the Zelda storyline.
Okay, we can reopen this this little wound at number one, but I'm just my brain is trying to figure out like how does Cadence of Hyrule relate beyond them just dancing around like they're
okay.
in
Now
High School
Jake is
Musical.
spitting undesirables now, saying Dynasty Warriors 9 is the best Dynasty Warriors.
There's so
That's
many. I
the
don't even know
worst.
which one that is.
It's
That's
the
the
open
ninth
world
one.
one where they lost all character.
He's fighting on our behalf because I'm ignoring James because of his terrible take.
Oh my god. Oh god.
And I've been playing Warrior since 3, so
But what's up, Shaka Zulu? Good to see you here, buddy.
My boy. Hello, Shaka. Thank you. You're too kind.
All right, we'll move on to number 3. Okay, we'll start with you on this one. What was your number 3?
It feels insane to say that this title is number 3 because I think in a lot of lists it would be a number 1. My number 3 is A Link to the Past. And again, like I said with my number 4, these are there's so many good Zelda games. And A Link to the Past for many, just like Ocarina of Time was a childhood game. Thank you, dude, for showing them off. See, look at that. This is great. Have them do this all the time.
Wait, there
Just like,
was a Link to the Past version on Game Boy Advance?
yes.
I did
Yeah.
not know that.
Pretty much every SNES game had some kind of port at some point.
Just let you know, because of that, every game up to the GameCube could be played. Every Zelda game up to the GameCube could be played on the GameCube.
Oh, because
Yeah,
And it's
that's
because
a
of
good
this
point.
collection
Stuff.
right here. Has the
Right.
first 2 NES games and the 2 N64 games. Although this is easily one. This Majora's Mask is kind of broken.
Is that still considered rare, that promotional disc? Because it used to be rare. But now I see it hopping up all the time.
I think it still keeps its value, but it's not like super expensive.
I feel like you can find it, like you go to your retro game shop now, you can find that on a shelf, whereas like when it first kind of came out, it was a bigger deal and people were like worried
Yeah.
about collecting it. Anyways, I'm totally off topic. Link to the Past. So I love A Link to the Past. I think that it carries you through the story really well. I remember being like kind of annoyed when like the dialogue would come up automatically if you didn't go to the mission right away. So I remember being a kid and being like, can you just shut up? I'll get to you in a minute. I'm just trying to explore this new world that I'm in. Like, what is this universe I'm in? And that was back when you didn't have a lot of games like that. But it's another perfect hero storytelling between that and Ocarina of Time. I think those are two probably the best ways that you could tell a hero story in any medium, let alone with a Zelda game. So I mean, I can go on about A Link to the Past all day, but I just think it's a perfectly rounded story. It's inspired a lot of other games. I'm not a big fan of this game, but I think Binding of Isaac was also inspired a bit by the way that A Link to the Past and stuff like that move, like that kind of 2D. So yeah, it's just I think it's inspired a lot of games since, and I think it's a standalone title that if I were to, talk to like a kid or something and be like, where should you start with Zelda? A Link to the Past would probably be one of the two besides Ocarina of Time that I'd say to start on.
All right. Dude, what was your number
next?
3?
I might as well go next. We're actually in tandem with this one. Also,
Oh,
Link to the Past is 3 for me as well.
Okay.
That's amazing.
But one of the reasons why I put it over Ocarina of Time is because Ocarina of Time's structure is exactly the same as Link to the Past, because you have those 3 original dungeons, and then you have you warp pretty much, and then you have the rest of the dungeons. Like in Ocarina of Time, you have less dungeons, but still, and with Link to the Past, there you have to go between light and dark to get to the final dungeon, while in Ocarina of Time, you go through the dungeon and the kid, that final dungeon through the kid, and then you go through as an adult. But there wasn't really much interaction between the kid and the adult sides as much. It's just you needed the item from the kid's side, so it wasn't as interesting. But like Ocarina, like A Link to the Past, it pretty much does everything that Ocarina of Time does as a structure. It just does it in the 2D era, and it does a really good job of hiding everything for you.
Okay, we'll acknowledge James.
The only problem is that A Link to the Past, you can't do the 3 heart challenge.
Yeah. Because Kay started a new argument. Binding of Isaac is Zelda game.
Well, it's more so the dungeon crawling aspect of it, right? Like when you actually get into the dungeons, they are very reminiscent of A Link to the Past. I wouldn't consider Isaac a Zelda game, so to speak, unless you're creating a new term similar to like a Metroidvania. Like if you're creating a term like that, then sure, I could see like a way you could chart that, but I wouldn't consider it a Zelda game by any means. No.
No,
It's in the same genre, not in the same franchise.
Yeah, exactly.
So, all right. Jason, what is your number 3?
My number 3 is a game that I was super excited for when I saw and heard it was going to be made, and that's going to be Link Between Worlds. Yeah, when I
still
saw
need
and
to play
heard
this
about
game.
Yes. No, when I heard and I saw that this was being made, I'm like, oh, cool. That's a little cute name that it's kind of got something, in between something that I was really excited for back in the Super Nintendo. And then when I got to play it and found out that, yeah, this is kind of like a sequel and, all this extra things of, the gameplay mechanics of going into walls and doing these extra things. And it's just a Zelda game kind of, being almost pretty much a sequel to Link to the Past. I was like, yeah, I'm on board. So I absolutely loved it. And again, with making these lists too, I noticed a lot of handheld games pop up onto my list, and it's actually kind of funny because I never thought I liked my handheld stuff more than I did. And yeah, I mean, it was a great time killer, great story, great everything that I wanted in another handheld version of Zelda.
To be honest, I put it away for so long that I might as well just wait until the achievement list finally comes for it.
Oh, I'm sure. Point. I mean, I'm sure someone will make one for you.
Well, I mean, they first had to add 3DS support, but
oh yeah.
But I think they're worried about getting GameCube and then probably Wii next. So, so it'll probably be a couple more years. But I've already waited this long. Might as well just wait until the list is made.
I was going to say, I didn't realize 3DS emulator was on RetroArch, but it is.
DS is, but 3DS is not.
Right. Okay. Cool. All right. Well, that comes to me for my number 3 pick. So my number 3 pick is Majora's Mask. It was Yep, I got the gold. Did Majora's Mask come in a gray cartridge? I mean, I have the gold cartridge.
No, it did not come in a gray cartridge. This is my original cartridge is the collector's edition with the holographic, but mine is actually damaged because when I lent it to a friend, his dog got a hold of it. It still plays perfectly, even though the pins are broken. But it still plays perfectly. Oh, but the holographic doesn't really look that well on camera.
Okay, so Majora's Mask had all Majora's Mask cartridges were gold, but some of them were holographic and some were not.
Yeah, if you find one that's gray, that's over $2,000.
Oh, Majora's Mask?
It's a demo cartridge.
Okay, so they didn't mass produce it.
It says not for reselling it too, right?
Yeah.
Okay. But the Ocarina of Time had a gold cartridge, which is the one that I have, and then they had a gray cartridge. But yeah, I remember by the time this got announced, because it was originally, I don't know if you want to call it its code name, but when it was in development, the name was Zelda Gaiden. But at the time, I didn't know it was Gaiden. I was calling it Gaiden.
I could have swore Gaiden was no wait. I'm thinking about Ura Zelda, which was the Master Quest version of Ocarina of Time.
I'll have to take your word for it because I have no idea what you're talking about. But yeah, it was. I remember I was really into Zelda after getting really into Ocarina of Time. So when they announced Majora's Mask, I was hooked on every tidbit of knowledge I could find out about it. And yeah, so when development, it was Zelda Gaiden, and I just thought the time aspect I thought was really cool. Because it's not something I think I'd ever played in a game at that time. And I probably my biggest complaint with it was that at least it felt like it to me that it was significantly shorter than Ocarina of Time, because Ocarina of Time had, the 3 child dungeons plus the 5 adult ones, whereas Majora's Mask basically had 4. So it felt shorter, but
Majora's Mask also had way more intricate side quests though.
That too, yeah, with the whole notebook and everyone having like their day-to-day, everyone's here at certain times of the day, which was really cool.
It's kind of like an intro to open worlds, if you think about it, but it's much more compact, so it doesn't feel like as empty as an open world.
Yeah. That was like a new concept at the time. It made it feel more alive. Obviously, you can do things to alter where people go and what they do through the 3 days, which you have to do sometimes to solve certain puzzles and get certain items. But I think the coolest thing that my favorite part about it was the masks, being able to, they put a heavy emphasis on the mask because there was mask side quest in Ocarina of Time, but it was didn't really do a whole lot other than maybe getting an item or something at the end. I forgot what that quest line led to, but they fleshed that out. And the transformation mask with the Deku, the Goron, and the Zora, and then the Fierce Deity mask, if you got all the masks, those were really, really freaking cool. My favorite was the Zora mask. Swimming around made you feel like a jet fighter in the water. But yeah, I know James I think it was James saying that he's not a big fan of it because of the timeline. But fortunately, I don't remember how long it was in the game. I figured out the reverse Song of Time, which slows time down, which made it much more enjoyable. But yeah, I had a lot of fun with Majora's Mask, and I played through that a lot of time. Oh, and in that cabinet down there where I rummaged through for that Nintendo Power Advance, I'm pretty sure is where my Majora's Mask strategy guide is. So that definitely helped fill out that notebook in game as well.
Your reasoning for why that's on your list is kind of funny because that's the 100% reason why it's not on my list, which is always kind of funny to hear that kind of stuff. It's like, yep, that's all true, but that's why I'm like, why I didn't want to play it that as much as some other people did, which is always funny.
Yeah, there's James. Best atmosphere, worst gameplay. I hate the time limits. Totally understandable. But yeah, the time, like I said, at that time in games wasn't really a thing. So that was kind of a cool concept that they integrated and made it a core element of the gameplay.
If you knew what you're doing, the time limit was nowhere near as bad. Because I'll even say that we might as well go into twos because this is my two.
Okay, go ahead and take us off with your number two is Majora's Mask. Perfect segue.
It just makes a perfect segue. So Majora's Mask is my number two. Like the way everything works, because there is even an achievement on Retro Achievements now where you beat the entire game in one cycle, outside of the tutorial cycle that you always have to go through. So the only thing
how would you even pull that off?
I know, that's what I asked him the first time he told me about that.
The hardest thing about that entire playthrough is getting to Epona, because to get to Epona, to get Epona, you have to get to the ranch before the night of the first day. So you have to get at least through the temples enough to get the arrow,
the powder keg.
You have to get the bow and arrow to be able to unlock Snowhead, and then you have to get you have to get the fire arrows to get the powder keg, and then you have to use the powder keg to get to the Epona. After you get to that point, everything else is actually extremely easy to get in the first cycle, because you're already halfway through both the first two sections, because you've already got the dungeon items. And then you just have the Great Bay and Iconic Canyon, and
I'm
and of course
when you did that playthrough, did you get the bow and the powder keg? Well, the powder keg I think you get after you beat the snow.
You can get it before you beat the Snow Temple, because you can use the fire arrows. You just have to go in and grab the fire arrows and leave.
So that's what I was going to ask is, did you do that for the bow and the fire arrows and then come back later and beat it? Or did you just beat the whole?
I went in and beat them later, because I was actually really close on time whenever I finally did it. And I did do some save scumming with the owls.
Oh, in order to kind of.
Yeah, because what you could do is you could save at an owl, and then go back to and then whenever you go back to the menu, you can actually you can delete your other save and then and resave onto and then copy the save, and it saves the owl statue as well. So it saves the time progress you made. But enough about that. I'm going to tell you how bad the remake is for the 3DS.
Oh, really?
Remember how I said that the Ocarina of Time kind of ruined the bottom of the well and the Shadow Temple's atmosphere? They did that to the entirety of Majora's Mask, because it's so much more brighter and so much cleaner. Like, if you actually go look at the end looks like it's like a little run down because it's not being kept up as well. But in the remake, it looks clean.
Oh,
like, remember there was even the bug in the kitchen, kind of alluding to that.
And you were saying that the 3DS version of Ocarina of Time did that with the bottom of the well?
Yes, but that wasn't nearly as bad because it wasn't like the entire atmosphere of the game. It was just like, oh, this is a dark area. this is a torture chamber. But but like all of Majora's Mask was that atmosphere, and then of course they ruined the Deku and Zora forms, because with Deku Link, you know how in the original N64 game you could use your momentum to hop across water.
Yo, that's right. You
They
totally
removed the momentum that you would get from the Deku Link.
Yeah,
which
if
actually
you spun
which actually
and then hit
broke
the water,
some
you
ways.
would bounce farther than if you were just walking.
And you know when you leave the cave that you did the race with the butler, it's actually almost impossible to leave that area because of that.
Because the distance you have to get to the next lily.
Yes, exactly. But and then also with Zora Link, remember how good it was to swim around as the Zora Link.
Yeah,
with
the
super fast. Well, the only way you could swim that fast is by using magic. Because they actually changed it so his normal swimming speed was like his swimming speed from Twilight Princess.
What?
And Skyward Sword.
That's a big oversight.
Yeah, and then because of that, they had to add magic pots into the beaver race. Just so you could actually do it in time.
Leave it the way it was.
Yeah.
Oh,
exactly.
So
that's interesting. You brought up just like atmospheric things, how it can ruin certain sections. I think the Majora's Mask really almost relied on the hardware limitations and the way that they dim stuff. So you up-res it to a 3DS, and that screen is just way more vibrant. You're gonna naturally see like the textures being smoothed out just because of the way that the 3DS operates versus the N64.
They should have thought about that when they were redoing the graphics. But another thing is that they also ruined all the 4 main bosses. Because remember the first boss of the Swamp Temple, Odawa? Like there was so many different ways you can fight him, and he reacted to in different ways. Well, in the remake, they made it so he had a very specific pattern you had to deal with him, and he looked like a moron.
Interesting.
He didn't seem like an actual like threat. Like the whole way you're supposed to beat him in the remake is you use Deku Link, go into the flower, and then when you pop up, he doesn't know where you are, and you just hit him with a Deku Nut, and then you hit him on his new weak point. And all 4 bosses have a new weak point where just a giant eye spawns out of them. It's not nearly as bad on Goat, but for the fish, it's actually pretty bad because they also added a new phase to the fight that actually requires you to be in the water. But it's a good idea with bad implementations because there's now new mines that come up that you have to break that he actually tries to suck in, but sometimes they don't break. That sometimes they just blow up whenever you're trying to break it.
Do you think
then sometimes doesn't do that? And then with the final dungeon boss, Twinbolt, they made it so that you got the Giant's Mask after beating the first one. So you had to beat the one of them with the arrows. Right. But then whenever you beat him with the arrows, you get the Giant's Mask, and you have to beat the second worm with the Giant's Mask. But his hitbox Link only punches, and his hitbox is like 2 feet away from his face. And you're mostly you're supposed to be throwing rocks at it. Yeah. And then when it gets stunned, you do like a big wrestling move. By the time you're done with the fight, you've seen it like 20 times. It goes on for way too long.
So what I'm trying to figure out is, do you think that they maybe took some of the criticisms from Majora's Mask and tried to make it easier on people, and that was their way of overcompensating for it? Because Majora's Mask has always been in large debate, right? People don't like the time change. People think that it's a more difficult game in general. So and like a lot of people do complain about the textures being too dark. I don't agree with that criticism at all, but there are people who looked at it and were like, this isn't Ocarina of Time. So do you think that them porting it over to the 3DS and doing these changes was their way of trying to
I think that was because I think the director doesn't realize what he had with the original.
I think so too, yeah. Just based on what you're saying.
I've heard some people liken it to George Lucas with the
special editions.
With the special editions.
Yeah.
And trying to think of one other thing that the remake did terribly, because all of that just kind of breaks what you want to do.
Didn't you have to have the like special 3DS for that game as well? It was that and like or not for that one. There was like Xenoblade Chronicles or something. You needed to have both sticks. I thought Majora's Mask was a part of that, like the
The new
having
3DS.
the XL or whatever. Yeah, the new
No.
3DS
You,
XL.
you don't need the new 3DS.
Oh,
None of the Zelda games needed it.
interesting. I always heard that like you needed that to run it better. So maybe people were just like in general being critical and saying Majora's Mask runs better on the new 3DS XL.
Yeah, and also another thing. Remember how with the ice arrows you could freeze any water?
Mhm.
They in dungeon they made it so you could only freeze specific spots on the water.
That's just an error at that point. There's like no excuse for that. That makes no sense.
Yeah.
There's like a lot of small things that just add up to like an inferior product.
Yeah, that's ridiculous.
And also one other thing they changed. You know how the song reverse time slows down time?
Mhm.
On the 3DS version, it only slows it down by half. On
Well-
the original N64 version, it slows it down by 70%. So it's almost 3/4 at that point that it's slower. So they made it so that even with the slow time, it still takes less time for each cycle.
My goodness, so many dumb changes.
Yeah.
But it's funny, we're talking about top 3 favorites, and then it's dude just goes on
Hey, I have to
a
let you know
tangent on why
this
the
this
Majora's
game is
Mask
so
3DS
good
is
that
terrible.
it's number 2, and then they ruined it with this. Play this version. Even this version is better because at least it's just broken.
So what was broken about that one?
Yeah.
Just small little glitches like certain glitches that you can't
Oh, okay.
that happen.
Not like they changed stuff that broke it.
Yeah,
but
it's
they
just
did
that
a
the
bad
emulation
job.
was broken.
Yeah. Just I'm putting it on a GameCube.
Well, BD Jake has a really good question. So would it make that single timeline playthrough impossible if it's not slowing down by 70%?
If it's not it does make it impossible. And then of course the changes to the bosses also make some of them take way too long. Especially the twin walled fight.
There's no achievement, no retro achievements for it yet since the 3DS isn't supported. But yeah, they wouldn't be able to do that achievement because it'd be impossible. So, all right, and we have Amon Ross coming in saying, "Moo, hello,
you,
is
sir."
that Dirk?"
Yeah.
What's up? All right, let's see here. We are on number 2s. Jason, what's your number 2?
It's already been stated by a few of you guys already, but my number 2 is Link's Awakening. Again, it's weird how going through these top 5s, a lot of these handheld games just keep popping on my list, but was between, I guess I was playing Metroid 2 and I was playing Link's Awakening when I had my GameCube, when I had to be traveling all over the place, and when the Switch remake or toyification came out, I mean, I grabbed on that and I enjoyed it a lot. So it's a small Zelda game that's just easy to get a hold of. Like awesome ways that they added some more Nintendo characters in it, ways that you can be like, oh, cool, like Link can, jump in a way, but it's more like a float. He has a little bit more things that you weren't kind of ready for a top-down Zelda game, but like obviously Link could jump in number 2, but there's just random things that were on a top-down Zelda game. We're like, oh, this is actually interesting and new and just all together and kind of in a bite-sized package in a way.
All right. Okay, we haven't gotten your number 2 yet.
My number 2 is a little bit interesting because it's one of the few Zeldas I haven't beaten, but it's just so good that it has to be in the spot. And that is A Link Between Worlds. I think A Link Between Worlds is one example of a game that did a sequel better. You rarely see that in gaming, but this is one of the times where I'm like, I'm glad I didn't resist this because this is amazing. And the only thing I can hold against this game is that it's stuck on the 3DS, so a lot of people didn't get to try it. But I think adding the 2D element of like going into the walls and stuff like that, it was just the absolute perfect way to take a classic game and add a twist to it and still keep that atmosphere alive. I can't sing its praises enough. I often battle between, is this better than A Link to the Past, or is A Link to the Past better because that's the original and that's what kind of inspired it? And at the end of the day, like, I think A Link Between Worlds takes everything A Link to the Past did and polished it up and made it like 10 times better. So I haven't beat it yet, and the reason is that I'm clinging to it as like, this is an amazing Zelda I still get to experience, and I don't want it to end. That's how good it is. So I think it's very, very deserving of a top 2 spot, and it's probably within my 10 favorite games of all time.
Nice. Yeah, I haven't even played it, but I've heard from a lot of people that it is a phenomenal Zelda game. So
Yeah.
if
It
ever
does the
gets
storytelling well. It does everything well. Like, the combat feels great still. It really reminds you of like how you would feel the first time turning on SNES, like A Link to the Past, and you'd be like, "Oh, this is amazing. What is this world?" A Link Between Worlds does that to you again, but on a modern system. That's like unbelievable in itself. It deserves way more praise. I consider it a very underrated title as well, because a lot of people talk about it, but again, it's stuck on 3DS. It's a crime. It needs to be put on the Switch.
yeah.
At least it doesn't rely on motion control, so at least emulation's
Yep.
not too bad.
Yeah,
DJ Mike
exactly.
Fury.
Or
Hello. I
not,
don't
not
think
motion
I've-
controls. I'm talking about. I'm actually mean touchscreen controls.
Oh,
Since
but
it doesn't rely on them so much, it's not too bad to emulate.
Yeah.
DJ Mike Fury. Hello. I don't think I've seen you before. Welcome. And he
What up?
agrees A Link Between Worlds is awesome and agrees that it deserves a Switch release.
100%. That is probably the number one game I would advocate for a Switch release at this point.
I think at this point, we might as well just wait for a Switch 2 release.
Yeah, even so, it can't stay stuck on the 3DS. It can't be lost in time like that, because there are other Zelda games that were stuck on portable, and I don't care. They don't deserve the
Talking
light
about
of
this one?
day. Don't you dare put that game in my face.
I'm pretty sure
Yes.
this game would be fun if you had 2 friends with it. And at least
Better
it
with
wasn't.
friends.
At least it didn't come in during at least Zelda is always around. So whenever you got something like this, it wasn't so bad. It's not like Metroid Prime. It's not like Metroid Prime Federation Force.
You know my opinion on better with friends games. A game shouldn't be relying on it's better with friends, therefore it's a good game.
Well, it
It
was
has to be a good game
designed for that
standalone.
in mind. It's
Sure.
designed for the multiplayer in mind.
Sure, a lot of games are designed multiplayer, but you can still do solo runs and enjoy them. It shouldn't be that the game is better if you have people with you, but this is a totally different rant.
But BD Jake saying, God, dude, is full chat mode with all the receipts. Yeah, if you haven't seen his collection, dude, it's huge.
Yeah,
It's
he's got
almost
a
at
really
5,500 now.
Yeah, he
5,500.
he usually gets his game pickups every other week, and he posts pictures of what he picks up each week. But yeah, in the Melee Discord, you can see his bi-weekly pickups to add to his giant collection. So, all right. Well, I guess that brings it to me for my number 2 before we move on to honorable mention. So for me, I'm surprised it's only got mentioned once so far, and that was K's number 5. Is my number 2 is Twilight Princess. I felt like this was we've talked about it before on some stream, but like I said, I became a big fan of Zelda because of Ocarina of Time, and Majora's Mask, and I was looking forward to the next one that was coming out on GameCube. And when they announced it at E3, we saw this awesome dark fight in a castle between Ganondorf and Link, and it looked like, oh, this looks awesome. And then they totally got rid of that and changed completely different directions and went with Wind Waker, and I was not a big fan of that.
You're starting this fight already with me. Don't even start.
So for me, Twilight Princess is what Wind Waker should have been, in that it was this dark, gritty, more adult direction that Majora's Mask was going, and then they switched directions with Wind Waker. So Twilight Princess felt like the next true sequel to me to Ocarina and Majora's Mask, and I think that they took everything that they did in Ocarina and Majora's Mask and like cranked it up. They made the world so much bigger. I think the first 2 times I went through Twilight Princess, it was like at least 60 hours, whereas Zeldas were typically nowhere near that long previously. And I felt engaged and like I just wanted to keep playing. It was hard to put down. I loved the implementation of the motion controls, although it wasn't like true motion controls like they did with Skyward Sword. When by that time they had the 1-to-1 with the Wii Motion Plus. They didn't have that yet, but I was a big fan of the motion controls, and I like what they did with that. And it really brought me into the game more. I know that the kind of the one thing that a lot of people will just taking the motion controls out, because more people are right-handed than left-handed. They did switch Link from left-handed to right-handed because of the motion controls.
They didn't just switch Link to. They actually just mirrored the entire game.
That's right. They just mirrored the game. So because I haven't played the GameCube version, so if I played the GameCube version, is everything mirrored?
Yes.
Oh, interesting. I did not know that. But yeah, I was a big fan of the motion controls, and it felt like the true sequel to me of Ocarina of Time and Majora's Mask, and I loved it, and I very much can't wait to play through it again at some point. I'm hoping. Oh, you know what? I have it on my backlist, my backlog of. Oh well, we'll have to wait till the Wii version to get the version that I played to get retro achievements. But once the GameCube gets added to retro achievements, I do know that they are working on a Twilight Princess achievement set for the GameCube version, so I'll definitely be playing that.
I will say, going back to how you're saying, like how you wanted Wind Waker to be kind of like Twilight Princess. This is where I will give the Zelda franchise in general just like a kudos in a way, because you can kind of have any style of game with this character, and it can be in whatever timeline you want to put it in. It's going to make sense. So with Wind Waker, I could imagine it being an adult Twilight Princess graphic style in Wind Waker and having that same game. It would not make sense to me. Like, Wind Waker is good because of the way it looks. Twilight Princess is good because, like, oh cool, we got like the more mature Link now finally. But we can't, like, if you switched graphic styles between both games and had that, you'd be like, what am I playing? It would not make any sense in any way. I don't think so. But I don't know. That's just me. Is like, you can, if you look down every game that we've mentioned too so far, like every game has its own art style and own feel because, again, the way it is.
I agree, Shaka. That was a crime.
Are you in pain because of what Neo said, or what James said, or both?
I guess I'm fighting a battle on multiple fronts, but I was talking about Neo's very specific comments saying that Twilight Princess should have been the sequel to Ocarina of Time, and that's the thing that's hurting
Majora's
my
Mask
soul.
is the sequel to Ocarina of Time.
I know, but what he's saying is that is the next like
progression of where they were
he's
headed.
Trying to cut out Wind Waker in the middle, and like if you're a Wind Waker fan, you understand that that's an insane comment to make. So, just as someone who spent a lot of time with that game, I'm like that is so wrong on so many levels.
VDJ is saying, James, you might make me White Knight for your own wife if you keep feeding this fire with his terrible takes.
Oh, is it because he's saying Mario Kart 8? Yeah, Mario Kart 8 is your slop. Enjoy your slop, Mario Kart 8 fans, because you got the same game from like the Wii U era, and then they just put it on the Switch for you, and then you get all these little DLC things you pay for. It's the same game. They're very uninventive. Mario Kart sucks.
I do see some of the aspects that they did take from Wind Waker and put them in Twilight Princess, and I think that the way that they implemented them was great. But yeah, if we could have gotten Twilight Princess sooner, I would probably like Twilight Princess even more than I do.
I'm not even gonna say anything. Just...
Well, that wrapped it up for our number 2s. So I think we already know where this is headed. So we'll start off number 1s with K, but before we do...
I thought we were going to do honorable mentions.
Yeah, right. Before we get to our number 1s, we'll go through our honorable mentions, and we'll let Kay kick us off with number 1, because I know she has a lot to say. So, dude, what do you got for your honorable mentions?
Well, one of my honorable mentions is Wind Waker. Let's just say I'm not a big fan of the big ocean because it just feels big and empty. And
boo-hoo.
And the dungeons weren't as memorable to me as most other Zeldas. And Another honorable mention will be the Oracle games, of course. Love these little guys. I'm actually someone who thinks that Seasons is better than Ages.
Okay.
But one thing to note is that with Seasons, it tend to with most Zeldas they tend to go back and forth between combat and puzzle. Well, Seasons kind of focuses on combat, while Ages focuses more on the puzzles.
Okay, that makes sense.
So they did it a little bit differently that way. I mean, there's still puzzles in Seasons, and there's still combat in Ages, but that's typically how it is. Like most of the bosses, tend to be more like puzzle bosses in Ages, while Seasons literally just copied the original Zelda's bosses, but added some new things to them.
Okay.
And then one last honorable mention, and I think this will make James happy. I do like Hyrule Warriors, but that's as a Warriors fan. But of course, I put in honorable mentions because it's not really a Zelda game.
And dude loves his Dynasty Warriors.
I mean, I did spend 3 months on just Dynasty Warriors 3 getting all the achievements in that thing.
So,
but
Jason,
Hyrule Warriors definitely feels like a celebration of the series, though. So,
okay,
that's one of the reasons why I like it.
And then, for my honorable mentions, I put the Oracle games and I put Minish Cap just because of how much of a fan I am of Capcom. And when I knew it was a Capcom Zelda game, and again, on a handheld for some odd reason, I kind of gravitated towards that pretty quickly. And as I was playing them to get this list, I just saw some of the flaws. I'm like, yeah, this isn't in my 5, but like they are very, very good. And then obviously the games that you guys mentioned, again, I agree with everything you're saying about them. But again, like Ocarina of Time, yes, it's revolutionary for 3D platforming. But for me, I'm like, I just couldn't, get myself into it as much as other people. Like Majora's Mask, I'm like we said earlier, like when Nerdinho was telling like, oh, I like the game because of, 1 through 3. I'm like, yeah, these are the reasons why I don't like this game. All the ones on the GameCube, I really wanted to get those too, but I don't know if it was just the time I was in, for gaming for me, but I just couldn't get into them. And then obviously the new ones for the Switch, I absolutely don't like except for the Shrines. And again, if they made just a Shrines game, I think I'd be playing that a little bit more than every other game.
All right. For me, I don't have a lot because a lot of the Zelda, like the earlier Zelda games, I didn't play until much later, so they don't have that nostalgia factor for me. And like I said, I'd probably say Seasons, but unfortunately, I haven't played it because, like I said, my friend who I was supposed to swap with sold it before I got a chance. But I'm looking forward to playing that one. But the other one that the 2 others that I've played more recently, I mean, it's probably like still already like 10 years ago, or I don't know, probably actually was Phantom Hourglass on DS because that was the last mobile Zelda I played. And then for as much crap as I give it, just some things that really irk, and it's not the things that most everyone hates about it, because the thing that most often gets hated on in that game is the motion controls. But I like I said with Twilight Princess,
I could never get the motion controls working for me in this game.
I really like the motion controls, and I don't think I ever had any problems with them. And I thought it was cool adding the 1-to-1 controls where the sword like actually follows you. It's not like it just slashes when it detects enough momentum. And you could actually have to slash in certain directions for certain enemies. I thought that was really cool. But there are just some other things about that game that I was not a huge fan of.
Like the constant hand holding?
Yeah, that, like I said, when James and Kay were on party chat last time, Fee or Fi or whatever her name is can freaking shut the hell up and leave me alone.
I wonder if they fixed that in the Switch version.
I heard that they did. But I have to take some people's word for it because I have not played it. So we'll let Kay go with her honorable mentions and lead us off with our number 1s.
Honorable mentions would be Majora's Mask for a lot of the reasons already stated on this panel. The reason why it didn't make it on an actual top 5 list for me is because of the problems with the game. At the end of the day, it can be a bit of a slog to get through. So as much as I appreciate the story direction and everything, it's not quite number 5 or any of that material for me. The other one would be Link's Awakening. Shout out to being one of the most David Lynch-like works in Zelda, and even being partially inspired by Twin Peaks a little bit. So there's just a lot of nice wonder in Link's Awakening that isn't really replicated in gaming too frequently. Other games have tried, but then they just kind of get into this weird cloud where you're like, I don't even know what you're trying to say. Link's Awakening keeps you intrigued. So I love how beautiful that game is, and I love the mystery around it. And you want me to start with my number 1? Okay.
Yeah.
I already know what it is.
Up.
No one's going to be surprised.
No one. Be surprised.
No one will be surprised to learn that my number 1 is Wind Waker. Wow, look at that. See, dude was already ready with the games. He didn't even need to hear it. For those of you who think Wind Waker is not a good sequel to Ocarina of Time, I want to point out what Shaka Zulu said, which is what I wanted to yell over you, but I didn't, which is that literally Ocarina of Time is in the actual intro of Wind Waker. This is a sequel. This is what happens if evil wins. That is the world that you're in. So yes, there's a lot of sailing around the seas. Guess what? That's because evil won. And you're in a desolate world. It doesn't have to look like Majora's Mask. It doesn't have to be all super dark to know that this is what happens in the universe when evil wins. And these are the people trying to pick up the pieces way later in their society to try to make a good win again. So I don't care about the ocean exploration being a bit too barren. I love it. I love the art style. I know that was a big point of contention for everybody for a long time. And yes, that trailer was unfortunate, and it pisses me off to this day that was the tech demo for the GameCube, because Wind Waker deserves way more love than it got, and that single-handedly, that small trailer ruined any hype for so many people. But if you can look past that, Wind Waker, I think, is a game that is even aging well. I think a lot of people come back to it now and they really appreciate it. And yeah, the GameCube version wasn't perfect. There were some things on the Wii U version that they improved. So having the tablet was great with the remastered version, because now you can view the map at the same time. You're not constantly toggling it, similar to how you felt maybe with the boots in Ocarina of Time.
They also gave us a super sail, so we just could skip more of the ocean.
Exactly. You had the super sail. You can move a bit quicker. There's a few other quality of life, like minor things that they do. I think you get an extra item slot as well on the Wii U version, which was nice.
The Wii U version also cut down on the Triforce hunting.
It made it easier. So in development for that game, they were in a situation where they didn't get enough time to build everything they wanted to. Sometimes some of the features you see in the game are built because somebody worked overtime overnight. So for example, there's an island where you can play golf on it. Everyone went home for the day, and the next morning that golf thing was just in the build of the game. And they were like, what? And a lot of Wind Waker fans love that like tiny mini game. So I don't think it's an excuse. I do think there's an issue with the Triforce hunting.
That seemed to be a reoccurring theme for Nintendo in the GameCube era.
Yes. Yeah.
Because look at the blue coins in Sunshine, and look at the temple keys in both primes, both Metroid primes.
Yeah, so there was something about the development era of GameCube where they wanted to push things out a bit quicker than they could actually build it. And Wind Waker was a game that suffered from that. I don't think it's an excuse necessarily. I do think I have a lot of issues with the Triforce hunting when you're getting to kind of like near the end game. I think it draws on way too long. And they've even spoken on record and say they regret that. That is the only real complaint I can have about that game. Otherwise, I love the expressions. I love that, like, they found a way to make Link have nice expressions in a game, and you felt like you were getting so much more of his personality that I have not seen in any other game since. I think Wind Waker has the best personality for Link. I personally love Tetra. I think that game has one of the best Zeldas in it. And there's stuff that you find underwater that is a spoiler, but it's the main reason why I'm super angry at people saying that this should not be a sequel to Ocarina of Time, because it absolutely is. And you get to dive in deeper to the lore than anything else at that point. Wind Waker was the first game to really actually give you like this is the history of what's going on in this universe. The other games were more focused on the now, or like this is what you need to save the universe. This game actually went deep diving straight into the lore. And there's gorgeous set pieces. I highly recommend every Zelda fan plays this game at some point. You might not be able to deal with the art style. You might have a problem with some of the quirkiness of the way the characters act, but the actual game itself, it feels fantastic, and it adds so much to Zelda lore that you don't see until like maybe Skyward Sword, where they start going into prequel stuff a little bit. But yeah, and the other thing I'll say is they were done dirty with all the sequels, all the little Phantom Menace, or not Phantom Menace. I'm a Star
Phantom
Wars fan.
Hourglass.
Phantom Hourglass and Spirit Tracks. Spirit Tracks tried doing something cool with its story, and I also don't want to spoil that because it's the only reason to play that game, but it plays like trash. And Phantom Hourglass was an awful follow-up to Wind Waker. It was an insult completely to what Wind Waker was. So, that is my number one. No one should be surprised. No one.
Yeah, because that's been our long-standing argument since we became friends. I don't hate Wind Waker, but originally I only pre-ordered Wind Waker for the sole reason of getting the Master Quest disc for GameCube of Ocarina of Time, because I wanted to play through that again with new dungeons, and that was really cool. But I have come around on it, partially because of Kay. I mean, I still haven't played it since playing it on GameCube, but just I have come around more. I've lessened my criticisms on it.
The other thing too is if people get like bothered by the kind of very linear structure of a Zelda game where it can almost feel like Mario, where it's like save the princess and all that kind of stuff. Wind Waker was one of the few to subvert the expectations. It's not necessarily Zelda that you're rescuing. And that's cool too. It's like one of the few games where it's not just surrounding like, oh, you got to go rescue Zelda. It's that all of these like little girls are getting kidnapped because they essentially think that they all could be Zelda. It's a good game. Go play it.
Just because I shit on it doesn't mean I don't like it. It is my number 6. It's just slightly outside the top 5 for me.
Shameful.
All right, dude. What is your number 1?
My number 1, you've already mentioned, is Twilight Princess.
Nice.
And even though I played the Wii version, and sadly, the only time I've actually played it was whenever I was when I was still living with my parents, and the Wii was in the living room, so I couldn't spend as much time. But it's even that one playthrough, I still remember so much about it. Like Midna as a character and how she changes throughout the story, and with Zelda, she's not just she's in the story. You actually get a small history about it. She was put in a bad position where she actually had to surrender so that her people could survive, because of Zant taking over. And so technically, Zant, even though he was under the control of Gandorf, he technically beat 2 kingdoms and was winning that way. And the final fight with Gandorf is amazing, and it's one of the few times that Link doesn't really get any real help in one of those fights. And that's one of the reasons why I really like how the way the fight ends, because it's not like just sealing away Gandorf again. Even in Wind Waker, he's still technically sealed away. He's not dead. But with Gandorf and Twilight Princess, you actually see the Triforce of Power actually fade away from his hand, and he actually dies standing up. So he actually is gone in that timeline because of what the actions of Link in that game. And like I said, Midna as a character, she's easily the best companion, and because she actually has a character arc that she goes through. She's kind of arrogant at the beginning, but then she ends up becoming more of a much more amicable towards people and their plight. And Midna's Lament is one of the best Zelda songs of all time.
It's been so long since I've heard it. I'd have to hear it again.
And I think it perfected the Ocarina of Time combat system. And also, and a lot of the little items that you get from the dungeons, like the ball and chain, the gust jar, the spinner, they're all so unique and just they're just interesting to use in their dungeons. Even just giving Link a second
I was just going to mention
awesome.
that. Yeah, the double claw shot is basically like Spider-Man.
Yep. Just so much about Twilight Princess. I can't wait to play it again on when it gets retro achievements. And it is the only game that I haven't gotten all the achievements for on retro achievements that I directly talk about tonight.
Okay. Cool. All right. Well, I think Jason, you want me to go next, or do you want to go next?
I can go because my game's been talked about a little bit already too tonight. So my number one, as we can kind of see the games that I kind of like going down the list. My number one is Link to the Past. Absolutely love that game. Love beating it, then going into the dark world and all that stuff. One I guess not puzzle, but one name of the Book of Majora always haunts me for like my life, because I, for some odd reason, as a stupid kid, could never find that book, even though that there's a library that I knew about. But going to the silly bottom left-hand side saying, hey, you need something to read this, and I'm running around everywhere. I'm catching people. I'm just doing stuff. Not
Such
for
a
some odd
strange
reason.
concept, finding a book in a library.
Yeah, find a book in a library and then run into the shelf. Like, I don't understand why that I couldn't put that together as a kid. But I mean, I'm running into things all the time, bouncing into stuff. But this stupid book in a library that I'm like, oh, I probably need that. So I got to just get, ladder or something like to grab it. But nope, I just can't find this stuff. So like this book will always haunt me as, forever in a way, because of like, oh yeah, I just suck at games because I can't find this stupid book. But no, other than that, just finding all the different suits, but all the different tunics, and just upgrading everything how it is before you take everything out. I just, you guys all talked about how much you guys loved it, and I can just add that same stuff to the same reasons that I love it.
Shaka Zulu's right there with you. All right, Jason totally redeems himself. Let's go.
Let's go. Face turn. Here we go.
My Fury love the music and Link to the Past.
And I didn't even, and that's one thing I didn't even talk about. And again, that's I think that's why one reason too that I put Cadence of Hyrule in there, because there's a lot of music in that too. And you're almost playing a Link to the Past style of that. But yes, I mean, a lot of the games that I absolutely love, if it has a really good soundtrack, you see me usually go back to it a lot of times because easy gameplay and really good music. I'm there.
All right. I guess that leaves it up to me, which anyone who's been around probably knows my answer almost as much as they were expecting K's. So for me, my number one is Ocarina of Time. As I mentioned many times on the stream already, that was really the game that, like I said, it's not the first one I played through in its entirety, but that's really the one where I really fell in love with the franchise. When I think about like games of my childhood, like that's the first thing I think of. I think it was the first game to get inducted into the Video Game Hall of Fame, and I think that's well earned. And from one thing I was mentioned earlier, on the Drunk K stream from the Melee Town Square, I came in and
I did primer up for that.
Before I even said anything, it's like, oh, is it Link to the Past as well? It's like, no, Link to the Past wasn't even on my list because, like I said, it was some of the older ones. I don't have nostalgia for. I didn't even play Link to the Past until many years later, so I don't have the nostalgia for it. So, not that it's a bad game. I've only played it once, and I vaguely remember it. I'd really need to play through it again. I'm looking forward to doing that with Retro Achievements. But for me, Ocarina of Time, I've played it dozens of times. There was a long series of time where I played it like every year. I still remember that game pretty much like the back of my hand, and I haven't played it in probably 10 years. I could probably go play it through and know exactly where to go and what to do because I've played it so many times. I love that game.
Just as a
yeah.
heads up, there are adapters that allow you to plug your N64 controller into your PC.
Oh,
So you might want to look into that whenever you want to play that.
interesting.
It's not as bad. It's not as bad as Mario 64 whenever it comes to the controls, but it still is nice whenever you're using the whenever you're aiming with the bow and arrow to have the better precision.
Interesting, because yeah, I figured because pretty much everything I play on my PC is with my Xbox controller, so I figured I'd just do that.
If you still have an original N64 controller, it's not too
I have
bad
a
to look
bunch.
for an adapter for that.
Because I was never a big fan of the N64 controller, so I figured I'd probably enjoy using the Xbox controller more.
You're not gonna enjoy outside of to be honest, outside of Mario 64 and probably the two Zeldas, most games will play fine, but those two games kind of require it because they actually they actually do use the precision a bit more than the other games.
Okay, well,
that the N64 control stick needs.
I will look into
Although
that.
Majora's Mask needs it more than Ocarina of Time because those archery mini games are way stricter than the Ocarina of Time.
Okay. Because yeah, Majora's Mask is also on my retro achievement backlog. But yeah, Ocarina of Time was, and it's like for me, like Twilight Princess and Ocarina of Time are like this close to each other. But I had to go with Ocarina of Time for, if nothing else, the nostalgia factor, because I played it. I've only done Twilight Princess, I think 3 times, but I've done, like I said, I've done Ocarina of Time like at least a dozen times. And yeah, I know that game so well. I've played it so many times, and it was really a game that really made me a gamer, because that's probably one of the earliest games where I just super fell in love with and played it a ton. And I think when on episode 1 of Party Chat, when we talked about what games have you beaten the most times, I think Ocarina of Time is up there as one of the games that I've beaten more times than any other game. I don't remember if it was my number 1, but it's pretty close up there.
I think I've beaten Metroid Prime more times than Ocarina of Time now.
Okay.
So I tend to go back to that one more. And every time I go back to it, I always play through it twice because I always play through normal and then hard.
Okay.
I even did a challenge run where I didn't even put a memory card in, and I beat the entire game without even saving.
Without saving. That's awesome. All right. So that will wrap up our top 5. And then typically what we like to do is group ranking, but I've been a little too involved with the conversation, so I'm a little behind. I almost need a producer for this. So if any of you guys want to just vamp for a minute while I kind of tally these up.
I honestly think this is out of all of us as a group. I mean, granted, this is only the 3rd episode. This might be the hardest to make a top 5 out of, because I think I think the same 5 games are going to be on the list, but in order is going to be the most difficult, I think, for everybody, just because we all have great reasons and everybody's is just all over the place. So, I mean, this is going to be actually kind of an interesting take on what we think are 5 as this panel's.
Yeah, because I think almost everyone had Link's Awakening, A Link to the Past, and Ocarina of Time somewhere.
Yep.
I think Kay was the only one that didn't have a Link's Awakening.
I was gonna say, was Drunk Me wrong when I said, "Oh, Ocarina of Time, is it always a link? Is it also a Link to the Past for you?" Because it's like literally everyone loves Ocarina of Time and A Link to the Past. That's just like how it is when it comes to Zelda.
Oh yeah, I mean, you can just it's just easy to tell by that too, because obviously the time in the gaming landscape during both times is obviously you got your Super Nintendo. Everybody's gonna play the Zelda game there, and then next game is obviously Ocarina of Time, and you can just see where they were going with it, and especially a newer system in that way too. So I had a feeling out of the top 5, those were going to be 2 of the 5 games. 1, 2 was my guessing, and then I was going to be very curious on 3 through 5, and seeing your guys' takes and not takes, because it's crazy it sounds. I thought you guys were going to have more the newer ones too, just somewhere listed on there, and for me to have just, I'd say, a quarter of the game in my top 5, and that number 5's position was wide open for anything. But I just kept thinking to myself, like, if I were to play a Zelda game right now,
on the same boat with Breath of the Wild. I think it's overrated.
Breath of the Wild is terrible. I think Breath of the Wild is like the destruction of the Zelda series. I honestly like. I like
the characters. I didn't. That was about the only thing I liked about it.
Yeah, and again, too,
It's
I
like-
didn't care for the game either, but I just like the puzzles.
It's like, okay, Ocarina of Time, right? You loved it. All of us loved it. Before Wind Waker came out, Ocarina of Time probably would have been my favorite Zelda. If we did that list back then and Wind Waker never existed, that would have been the one, I think. But like you look at Breath of the Wild and it's essentially just an expansion on that. And like when you're younger, you look at Ocarina of Time, you're like, I love this. I wish it was bigger and I could do even more in this world, right? Like, because you're still like at that point in the N64 era, you're in like that first awkward 3D and you're like, great, what else can we do? Like, what are the limits of what we can do? And now we're at a point in gaming where we feel like, not that we've reached the complete limits or anything, but there's a lot less that's being innovated. So you play Breath of the Wild and it's kind of like, okay, this is what Ocarina of Time would have been like if it was made, when I was younger. And I hate it. It's so desolate and boring and devoid of any personality. And it's just about like the best part is the shrines. And the shrines is like only one little element of Zelda. There's so much more to Zelda. The storytelling, the coming of age story. You don't feel like you have any of that with Breath of the Wild. It's
And
like
mean,
I think
with
Zelda's
Twilight
character is written
Princess-
okay, but like
With Twilight
the rest
Princess, there
of
was
it,
an
no.
open area in the Hyrule Field, but it was designed that way to do a big horseback battle with the Bokoblin King
And it
and
feels
his
good
minions,
still.
and it was
feels
good
small enough.
because that was the only big open area, and yeah, it was kind of a pain to go back through whenever you're going through the rest of the game, but it had a purpose because
no,
it was meant to be
exactly.
big and open.
And Breath of the Wild to me, and Tears of the Kingdom, which is really just an expansion. That's also another crime on Nintendo. Thank you for giving me another like $80 game, Canadian, mind you. And it's like just a literal part 2. It's not even giving me anything
My
extra.
Tears of the Kingdom is still sealed. I have not opened it,
It's like,
and
okay,
I've only
thank you
bought
for
it
the
because I know
Minecraft
that
stuff.
it's a Zelda game and it's going to keep its value.
Yeah. No, I think Breath of the Wild is like, I'm not pissed off it exists, but I really do worry about the future of Zelda because I think if they continue in that direction, there is a new wave of fans that do enjoy the Breath of the Wild, Tears of the Kingdom flexibility. I think if we continue in that direction, we're not going to get our Ocarina of Times anymore. We're not going to get our Link to the Past anymore. We're going to be getting this kind of stuff in a super open world and boring, and it's going to take away from the idea. It's going to feel more like Skyrim and stuff like that. It's not going to feel like
And
Zelda
Skyrim was
anymore.
compact enough to still be fun for an open world. It wasn't
Yeah.
like a Far Cry open world.
Yeah, I think we're getting to a point where we're going to just have super open world Zeldas and it's going to suck. But it's interesting, Jason, you brought up like a shrine builder because I think at one point they wanted to do like a Link's Awakening dungeon builder that got canceled or something.
Oh,
I remember
no,
seeing
there
rumors about this.
there was a dungeon builder in here.
Oh, there
which
is a
is-
dungeon
okay.
builder in it.
It's just
Okay.
extreme.
Oh,
It's
cool.
extremely constricted though, because you
But
can
they were
only
going
Let's
to
say-
make a
Oh.
standalone game, I thought, at some point, and then they maybe
Yeah.
added it into that, and that's
the
where
only
they
thing this
ended.
the you can only take already existing dungeon rooms and just reorder where they are as its own
Mm,
dungeon. So it wasn't really that great.
right. So maybe they will do like a Mario Maker style shrine builder in the future, and I'm okay with that. I mean,
Who knows?
I
Maybe they'll
always
take the
get
criticism
existing.
from that, and whenever they release the Oracle games, maybe they'll do something. They'll improve on it.
Yeah.
At the worst, the Oracle games have way more dungeon rooms to pick from than Link's Awakening.
Forking around hopped in. He's saying, finally, Melee has a good take.
Probably about Breath of the
Sometimes I
Wild.
do, just sometimes.
Yeah, it's about
Once
Breath
the
of the
blue
Wild.
moon.
He's
Kinda
agreeing
sad
that
nobody
Breath of
talked
the Wild
about
is
this game.
overrated. Yeah,
That's
no
a
one
game.
mentioned one or two. But yeah, it's in our top fives. Jason's the only one who didn't have Ocarina in their top 5, and I'm the only one who didn't have Link to the Past in their top 5. So unsurprising that those ones were up at the top because yeah, they're great games.
Oh, this isn't like Mario to me because Wind Waker is not going to make the top 5, and if Wind Waker is not in the top 5, I just don't agree with the list. It doesn't matter.
Well, it seems like Twilight Princess is making the list.
Yeah,
'Cause
I
it's
mean,
really
if I were
high
to
up
guess,
for me and Neo.
based on the conversation,
Yeah.
if I were to guess, you have Twilight Princess, Ocarina of Time, A Link Between Worlds, and A Link to the Past all on that list.
Actually, I don't
Nice.
know if Link. Wait, was there 2 people that had Link to Two Worlds?
And yeah,
Okay.
me and
Yes.
Jason, right?
Yep.
2 and 3. Yeah, I think those 4 or like
So-
as going through it, what I've written down to, I think those are for sure 4 to 5. It's just what's that last spot is pretty much what's the bubble spot.
Should be Wind Waker.
It's number 6 on my personal list. So
So
Let
good.
me move this over.
And by the way, the only reason
here.
why Breath of the Wild is even on my top 10 is because I only put games that I've completed. So probably by the time I finish, if I ever go through Minish Cap or A Link Between Worlds, it'll finally get kicked off.
Oh, I'm sure.
Like I said, it's a husk of like what a Zelda game should be. Breath of the Wild is way too open. They just didn't put enough time into the charm of Zelda, which is a big thing that brought us in back in the day. So,
Which you can have the Red Moon come out and then do the boss, the same enemies over again, or then you can go cook. Come on, it's so good.
James the Tear of the Kingdom naming Source Esther Vouch. That's hilarious. Forking Around is with you. Wind
Hell
Waker
yeah.
is goated. And Gordon King, what's up, buddy? Haven't seen you in a while. His tops are Wind Waker at number 5, Breath of the Wild number 4, Twilight Princess at number 3, Link to the Past number 2, and Ocarina of Time at number 1. All right. Good list. But with that, I got them all tallied up and on my notepad. So let me go ahead and share this. And do that. And
There's a way to do it in Excel. Maybe I'll figure it out for you.
All right. So these are tallied up by each of our number 1 picks gets 5 points. Each of our number 2 picks gets 2 points. Our number 3 picks get 3 points. Our number 4 picks get 2 points, and our number 5 picks get 1 point.
We got a three-way
and so
tie for
that
fourth
is how
place.
these. Yeah, so that's how these are ordered by that, but they aren't necessarily going to stay in this order. So, do we want to? Let's go ahead and move those ones down because it looks like it's probably going to be between these ones. So we'll just go ahead and order.
Did you not even put Wind Waker on this piece of paper, sir?
Did I miss Wind Waker?
I'm insulted. I'm
Wind Waker
very
needs to be 5.
insulted.
Needs to get 5 points.
Oh no!
Oh, I did not do that
Oracle of Ages
intentionally.
gets there
I'm
even though only
sorry.
got 1 point.
I'm sorry. I did not do that intentionally.
But it's still down in the bottom because it doesn't even
Wind
tie for 4th
Waker.
place.
I know,
Yeah.
I know, but at least let me have my little.
Is Kay the only one that had Wind Waker in her
Yes.
top
Yeah.
5? Looks like it. Yep. So
It has too many
All right.
too many things that mess with me for me to put it in my top 5.
So we'll go ahead and this is 6. So do we want to rank these 6 or do we want to include Wind Waker and make it 7?
I mean,
or
we're
do
top
we
5. We have to get
wanna
rid of one
cut it
game.
down
No,
to
no, you
5?
guys
Yeah.
have a top 5 show. You have to pick
Yeah,
5. Doesn't
Oh,
mean
we
I'm
have
going
to
to
get rid of-
stand here and agree with it. I'm just saying
Yeah.
it has to happen.
Yeah, those are the weighted games. We have to get rid of pretty much one game.
I mean, I can understand getting
All
rid
right.
of Link's Awakening, to be honest.
Really, that hurts.
I mean,
But
I haven't
I
played
mean-
Link Between Worlds, but with how much I like Link to the Past, I'd probably like Link Between Worlds. It's just I haven't played it yet.
Yeah,
It depends what philosophy.
I haven't played Link Between Worlds, so I can't
Depends
say.
what philosophy you're going on. Like A Link Between Worlds and A Link to the Past kind of represent the same gameplay style. So you could also make that argument that Link's Awakening is another unique one in there. Then you would have, well, I guess Majora's Mask and Ocarina are pretty similar.
No, they're extremely different.
Well, in the like in the era that they exist, right? That's what I'm talking about.
They're built on the
Yeah.
same game engine.
I
It
mean,
was
to be
just-
honest, Metroid Prime and Donkey Kong Country Returns are also built on the same engine. So
Yeah, but those are two different series.
Really?
That's
Yeah.
a whole different argument entirely. This is two games in the same series.
I'm just saying
use
that the engine
similar-
doesn't matter, and this is coming from a software engineer.
Regardless,
That
a
is
lot
good
of people
point.
group Majora's Mask and Ocarina of Time together. That is all that my argument is.
Yes.
So just going off
Um,
of my list, I had Link's Awakening as my number 2 and Link Between Worlds as my number 3. So I'm fine with Link Between Two Worlds unfortunately getting dropped, but I know Kay had hers different than mine, so that kind of evens it out on that way. So I mean, unless anybody else sees
I'm right
anybody
there
else,
with you because I have not played Link Between Worlds, so I can't say that it's better than any of these other ones that I have played.
I mean, from my opinion, A Link Between Worlds is a better version of A Link to the Past, so I do think it deserves to be there. But I see an equal argument for Link's Awakening being in that list
Mhm.
for how great it is as well. So I think as long as either A Link to the Past or A Link Between Worlds is in that list, it does justice to the similar like series within Zelda. But
Okay, dude, what's your take on Link Between Worlds?
Like I said, I haven't played it yet myself either.
Okay. So I think we're gonna have to move that one down just by default because, yeah,
I
'cause two of us haven't played it.
Yeah, I will be interested when you guys do play it. If you would take down Link's Awakening, because it is kind of like those two are great games. I mean, it pains me to see Link Between Worlds drop out for Majora's Mask and Ocarina of Time, but again,
Yeah, I agree.
that's just me in general. But again, I do understand how good both of those games are with Twilight Princess, if I can talk. But yeah. Yeah, it's tough. Again, that's why we do top 5, just to see what unfortunate game gets the bubble burst. But with those 5, I think that's fine. But yeah.
And Link Between Worlds, what platform was that on?
What system did you play it on? 3DS.
It was a 3DS game? Okay.
Yeah, only
stuck
3DS.
On a 3DS in purgatory.
That's what I was wondering, if they ported it to anything.
No. This to me, like A Link Between Worlds is the #1 game and it's a port at this point.
That I would probably support you in that, just because it's basically trapped on the 3DS, and that's kind of I guess the 3DS would be like that meme of like the mom with their kid in the pool, and then there's one drowning, and then there's usually like a skeleton at the bottom of the ocean. That'd probably be Link Between Worlds when it comes to porting it to modern consoles.
I mean, if you have a really cool friend, they can if you have a 3DS, just do the things that Nintendo doesn't want you to do, and you can just have it on a 3DS.
Well, I have a hacked 3DS, but then I just rip my own cartridges and keep them for myself. That's how I do it.
Yeah,
that's the way you're supposed to do it.
Yeah,
as long as it's for personal use, you can rip it.
Right.
Legally in America.
Oh, all right. So I'm thinking that Link's Awakening is probably going to be in slot number 5. Given what's above it.
I'm fine with Link's Awakening being in 5.
I think so too.
Especially if you know my opinion on this list. So,
but we don't know what your 4 through 1 is on the real list is though.
To me, this list is like, okay, sure, yeah, the normies take on Zelda Games top 5, sure, whatever. Wind Waker deserves #1, don't care. So yeah, this is if you were to put this in front of anyone else in the gaming industry, I'm sure they'd be like, yeah, that makes sense, but it doesn't make sense to me. Just for honestly, the Wind Waker. I'm not saying I'm not going to stand whatever we choose as a group. I'm just saying that the rest is fine.
Really? Honestly, if we look at this list, I bet you, for some odd reason, I can see Wind Waker being in the top 5 of like everybody's list, and it's kind of odd that it's not for us. Honestly,
it's because
I'm just saying there were
because the only person that put in the top 5 was Kay. Everyone else didn't even put in the top 5.
There were people that were supposed to be on this panel today that would have agreed with me. I'm just going to also put that out there. I am the only Wind Waker representative left, but there were several other people that wanted to be on Nerdy Neo's show who also love Wind Waker who are not here today.
Well, you know what? This is what we should do, because we are going to have a part 2. We keep the points the way they are. This is our top 5 for now, because we'll just go off of points. We'll have part 2. We'll add those points to this list, and then we'll make the true top 5 list
on part 2. Interesting.
Hey, you guys
sure there won't be a part 3?
There could be eventually. But I gotta highlight PDJ. Of course, the female color is being discriminated against by the white man.
I'm being harassed for my Wind Waker love.
Gorky, there are no mail-in ballots here.
I'm just saying, I know who was supposed to be on this panel before, and there's at least one other person for sure that was supposed to be on this panel that would have voted Wind Waker highly. And there's someone in chat right now who also could have made it on one of your top 5 streams who also would have given it a top 5 as well. So
I think you're talking about
there you go. See what I mean?
Well,
but it's about who's here in this group, so I'm not going to dispute if 3 out of the 4 of us decide this is the list. Who am I? I'm just one vote. I'm just telling you that other than me thinking Wind Waker should be in the top 5, this list looks fine to me.
Okay. Yeah, so we do have one slot. Like I said, Zelda Part 2 hasn't been scheduled yet, but we do already have 4 people. So we got, on top of myself, if Jason's going to be there, that makes it a full party. But if Jason isn't able to make it, then we got room for one more if someone else wants to join us and rank their top 5 Zeldas. Yeah, I kind of like that idea of saving this and doing a combined ranking.
Make sure
with
someone talks
the
about
next
this game.
votes at the next top 5 part 2, Link's crossbow training.
I just looked at a few top 10 lists of Zelda games, and wow, some takes. I just will say that we'll just say out of 3 of them, Breath of the Wild was number 1 on a lot of them.
I
That's
don't
the
know
new
why.
era of
Yeah.
Zelda fans. I think there's a
Yeah.
lot of people who have been accustomed to the more open world
Yeah.
aspect and gaming in general, like Witcher fans, stuff like that. And now they're becoming Breath of the Wild.
I mean, I
fans.
can enjoy an open world game, but as a completionist,
Good pick,
I
Paul.
just despise open worlds long before I'm done with them.
Yeah, I understand that. So, well, how about we we'll add part 2 to this once we get there. But let's go ahead and rank these with what we've got here so far, and we'll save it and add on to it later. So,
yeah. So I'll say Link's Awakening 5. It's hard not to see with the points things. Like, I mean, I think Link's to the Past was on 3 out of the 4 of us, right?
yeah, I was the only one that didn't have Link to the Past on the top.
Yeah.
5.
And then Twilight Princess was on 2 of the 4.
Kay had it at number 5. I had it at number 2. Dude had it at number 1.
Okay. And then what about Ocarina?
Oh yeah, and Jason,
Everyone had it somewhere.
Yeah.
Okay.
No, Jason didn't have Ocarina or Twilight.
I didn't have
Princess.
it. Yeah.
Well, almost everyone had it.
Yeah.
It feels weird ranking Twilight Princess above Ocarina. Now,
I was just
just
gonna say that.
Not-
by
not
the
to me.
aspect of how we all put our points in, it makes sense for Twilight Princess to be number 2. But like realistically in a list, it just feels very weird to say that Twilight Princess is better than Ocarina, because I think Twilight Princess, like, it is a really good like next, move on from Ocarina, but at the same time, it's not quite as tight and perfect of an experience as Ocarina can be. So it's just weird. Like, I'm not disagreeing with the placement necessarily. It
Right.
feels strange. I don't think I
that's what I
can
was
fully
gonna say.
sit here and say that Twilight Princess is better than Ocarina of Time.
Yeah,
I say it is.
agree. Yeah, Jake was saying invalid game journal website's top 10 takes. And JT Epsilon saying that open world games are saturating. Yes.
And
the market.
that's the whole thing. Now people are enjoying the more open world aspect in games that they used to play because they're getting used to that in their modern games. I don't think it's always a good thing for every
Meanwhile, me, I'm
series.
going backwards to more linear stuff like Devil May Cry.
Yeah,
Of
but
course.
that's because we're more classic gamers, right? Like, we've been playing games for a very long time. But the new trend is the open world.
I didn't mind it when it was shooters because at least those are fun.
Making a good point. To vote on video games, you have to be over 30. And James saying in Twilight Princess is better because you can hold cats. So,
I think
yeah,
you can pet the dog
I
too.
do love that, but like, it's
I think you can
still-
pet the dogs too.
I'm pretty sure you can. It's just,
Yeah, you can pet the animals.
But yeah,
Yeah,
I'm
with-
with you with the Ocarina. Putting that above Twilight Princess.
I think that's good
Dude-
right there.
I
I
mean,
think Dude's
I'm
the only one
someone.
that disagrees.
Yeah, I'm the only one that
But-
will disagree with that.
My question is, like, just for how you guys are running the show, are you going purely on the point system and then we debate on the rest? Or is it fine if something got less points, but we all agree it should be in a
Yeah.
higher spot?
Exactly.
We debate.
Okay.
Oh, hey,
we
what's
debate.
up? Tomby's here. What's up, Tomby? Good
What
to see
up,
you, buddy.
Tomby?
He's
He's
always
like,
preferred open world games. It depends. For me,
Yeah.
it depends. There's some open world games I'm not a big fan of, and the open world games that I freaking love. So,
no,
So
what I was gonna say is like with the point system, it's kind of flawed in a way because if somebody had it at number 1, they get 5 points, and somebody had it, another person had it at number 4, we'll say, and they got 7. There's only 2 people that had it, but if one game 4 people voted on it and they got 7 points, I mean 4 people liked the game, not 2 people. So that's saying the game, if the game's on 4 people's list, it should be better than a game that's on 2 people's list, in my opinion. So
yeah. And Fork Around makes a great point. Breath of the Wild is a good game, but I don't think it's a good Zelda game.
I think you could reskin it into another like IP, an original IP, and it would feel a little bit better. But yeah,
like
there's
Immortals
just
Phoenix Rising
Yeah,
well,
Genshin
no, but
Impact.
even
or
like
Genshin Impact.
Immortals Phoenix Rising is not bad. Like, it's not as bad as people say.
It's funny because that's the game I'm literally playing right now. Not at this moment, but that's the game I've been playing through for the last couple of weeks, and I've been having a lot of fun with it. I like it a lot.
Immortals Phoenix Rising also went through a weird IP change, didn't it? Like, it was supposed to be about Greek gods, and then didn't they like change a bunch in it too?
No, so it's still Greek gods. What it was there was a name change before the game came out. It was originally going to be called Gods and Monsters, but the Monster Energy drink filed a lawsuit to make them change it because they said it like infringed on their trademark or whatever. It's like no one's going to get these two things mixed up, so they changed it to Immortals Phoenix Rising, but they didn't change the game at all. However, one of the DLCs does go into, I think it's Chinese mythology. I haven't gotten that far yet, but the whole game is Greek mythology. You got Zeus and Prometheus and Aphrodite and Ares and all that stuff. But I was talking about it on Achievement Chasers with Dude. I went into a little bit more depth into it because it's basically the closest thing that as an Xbox player we're going to get to Breath of the Wild. And I was saying that, you know, maybe that's the reason why it did pretty well, is that it's basically like Breath of the Wild, but it's not a Zelda game. And I'm wondering if that might be part of it. Unfortunately, it didn't do great enough because there were plans for a sequel, but it got canned. There's never going to be a sequel.
Well, it comes across similar to me as like Star Fox Adventures, where people like will either love or hate that game, but a lot of people agree if it stayed as like the dinosaur planet type thing, it would have been fine. I kind of view Breath of the Wild and Immortals Phoenix Rising kind of similar.
Well, in Dinosaur Planet, that was not going to be a Star Fox game. And then I think it was Shigeru Miyamoto's like, hey, you guys are working on this game? Make it a Star Fox game.
Yeah, throw Star Fox in it. Exactly.
They had to shoehorn it in, so it wasn't built with that in mind.
Yeah.
But I'm saying, like,
it was originally built for the N64.
But I'm saying Breath of the Wild just kind of feels like you could have done any story within this universe. You didn't need to make it a Zelda game.
Yeah, that makes sense.
And then in chat, DJ Mike Fury says about Cadence of Hyrule. Yes, it's not. That's why it's not gonna make the top 5. But for me, it was like my favorite. It was my 4th favorite style of Zelda game, I guess you could say, even though it wasn't main canon. So would it not be in the top 5 for the list? Obviously not, because I'm probably gonna be the one who voted for it. But if I were to say, like, hey, if you're gonna play a Zelda game or a Zelda themed game, I guess is the best way to say it, play Cadence of Hyrule because it's really good, I guess, is the best way to kind of go about it.
Yeah, similar with the Metroidvania ranking, and Jason went a little off script there with Dead Cells because most people
look up Dead Cells.
Don't consider it a Metroidvania.
Type Dead Cells into Google right now and tell me what it says.
I will be putting up Dark Souls as one of those. One of my top 5.
But similar to that, Jason went a little off script here as well because it was supposed to be only like mainline Zelda games, but he decided to go and twist that a little bit.
I mean, if you find a way it relates to the timeline, by all means, I will accept it in. To me, that doesn't fit in the timeline at all.
Yeah. And Gaming with Spoons is here. What's up, Gaming with Spoons? Good evening.
What up, sir? We had a great conversation about JRPGs the other day, and we were also at each other. I don't like Kingdom Hearts, and he does.
BD Jackson.
And also, actually,
fantastic Metroidvania. It's not a Metroidvania.
Gaming with Spoons, I will say there's one other person on the planet that agrees with me about the Final Fantasy Remake and Rebirth stuff, and that is Jason, who you see here, Tons of Fun. So if you're looking for another opinion on why we do like the new Final Fantasy stuff, that's your other person to talk to.
So, okay.
It's very good. Try to beat it. It's really good.
So, because for me, I think Link to the Past is too high in this list, but I know a lot of people love it, which is why it has the most points. So I know I'm in the minority there. What does everyone think about the placement of the 4, the top 4 here? Link to the Past, Ocarina, Twilight, and Majora's Mask.
Insidious Bliss is on my side. It seems like is like we're pretending that Zelda has a timeline. Thank you, Insidious Bliss. Zelda just has whatever time moments.
No, there's a very clear timeline though. There's like,
if you want me to, whenever I take a picture of all the games I have, I could take a picture of
lay them out in the timeline.
Lay them out in the timeline. Yeah. There's a very clear like good wins and evil wins, and then what happens to the planet after those things happen. That would be the timeline to me. But whether what game fits in what place,
I think this is the only game that I don't know where I would put it.
That's what I've been trying to say. I don't know where Cadence of Hyrule fits in all of this.
I'm saying the same thing.
Also,
with you
this
guys.
one
I
because it's kind
understand.
of its own thing.
Well, that's like a what if scenario,
Yeah.
right? It's like almost an alternative universe.
But it connects to all the other timelines at the same time. So
Oh, look, more Wind Waker supporters in chat.
You should definitely not put what Shaka Zulu just said.
Only Wind Waker fans care about the timeline.
I'm a
Yeah,
Twilight Princess
it's true.
supremacist, and I still think that I still care about the timeline.
You know why I care about the
I'm just
timeline?
kidding.
You know why I care about the timeline as a Wind Waker fan? Because Wind Waker
'Cause you
actually
should.
cares about the timeline. And Wind
You
Waker
should.
actually puts in effort to be like, these things all connect. Here's how. That's one of the only games in the damn series. I'm really trying not to swear, Nerdy Neo. That's one of the only games in the whole series that actually cares to be like, this is a timeline. This is how. This is the history of Hyrule. I get we get Skyward Sword later and blah, blah, blah. But Wind Waker was the first to really attempt to be like, no, this is actually like a universe that goes much deeper. Let's talk about it. I don't want to spoil that game for people in the chat that haven't played it. But there is a reason Wind Waker fans care about the timeline.
Jake,
It's a 20-year-old game. I think we can spoil them.
go off, Queen. The
I mean,
I'm
we
looking at the
can if
copyright.
you
It's
want.
2002.
the
I don't
statute of
care if we
limitations
spoil
is
it.
up.
It's just,
Statute of limitations is up, but
I
no,
just
I think
personally
it's always
don't
good
like
to not.
I don't like to spoil games for people in general. I've been on your show before, Nerdy Neo. We were talking about, deaths in gaming. I didn't want to talk about the deaths that meant something to me in gaming because there are people who've never experienced that game. But I get it. Like, there's games that have been out for a very long time. Just my personal perspective, I don't like to spoil. But I'm happy to do a stream later with people that do want to hear spoilers, and I can talk through all of it. If it's your first time hearing about the game or you're not sure about it, I just encourage you to try it before you hear all that.
I respect that from Kay as well.
Yeah, you never know who's played what, so
I want people
just like
to
doesn't
enjoy
matter how
games,
old the movie
right?
is, you don't want to spoil it for someone.
Mm-hmm.
I want to bring people into knowing what good games are. So I don't want to spoil all those good games. And it's like, well, great. Thank you for robbing me of all those experiences. So I'm happy to recommend games, but I try not to spoil them as much as possible unless forced to.
Yeah.
Also, I have this time too because I was looking at chat. I just want to thank the 13 people that are in chat. I think this is the most we've ever had for a top 5. So the 13 people that are watching and commenting, I just want to say thank you because you guys could be doing anything else, and you guys decided to hang out with us and talk Zelda for tonight. So appreciate it and all that stuff.
Yeah, it's been great seeing all you guys in chat. This is I've been keeping an eye on the current viewer count, concurrent viewer count, and this is the highest I've ever had on my channel. It peaked at 15, so that was awesome.
Nice.
Back to my last question because we got sidetracked again.
Yes.
The ranking with that they're at right now. Like I said, I would put
I think I can live with it for now.
The past down, but I know I'm kind of in the minority. So is that everyone else gonna overrule me on that? I assume.
The way the top 5 looks now, I think that's how I would keep it at right now.
Okay. And
I think I'm fine with it, even though I don't like Twilight Princess being so far down.
Yeah. Cool. All right. Well, I will save that and we'll bring that back up when we do Zelda Part 2, whenever that ends up being. So, well, I don't know what I wanted. There we go. Whoa. There we go. Well, cool. That was a lot of fun. Not quite as insane as Mario games, which I anticipated it wasn't going to be that crazy. But that was
Because we weren't talking about a terrible Smash Brothers game.
Listen here, you little. I can't
We're
say
not
the
going to
word.
get into that again.
I'm kidding.
I can't say
I'm
the
not kidding, but I'm
word.
kidding. I'm kidding, but I'm not kidding.
I know you're not kidding, and it's fine. We don't have to agree on the same one, but
Right.
dear God,
As a
Melee's
Gandalf
amazing.
main,
Okay.
melee supremacist.
It's okay to be wrong.
I'm not going to highlight it, but I just want to comment on BD Jake's comment because we were talking about deaths in gaming. Yes, that one was one that I mentioned on Party Chat. It was on the ladies' Party Chat that we did for Valentine's Day. That is I think that was the inspiration for the question. So I'm right there with you, man. But yeah, glad that you guys could join us. I know it was we were expecting a couple more on the panel. That kind of threw off the dynamic a little bit, but I still had a blast and glad that we're able to make this happen. And I look forward to, whatever comes next that is going to bring you guys back onto a top 5 panel. So as usual, if anyone has a topic for a suggestion for top 5, let us know. Anybody who wants to, come on, let us know. We want to have you guys on to rank your top 5s. If a panel is full, we can do a part 2 if there's too many people. But I appreciate all you guys hanging out and chat with us. It was a lot of fun to see you guys. And bear with me while I'm packing up
as he's trying to keep himself staying alive. Thank you all for watching us and everything like that. Please like, follow, subscribe, do all the things. We're gonna have the Metroidvania on Thursday, you said, right?
Yeah, so Metroidvania Part 2 is going to be on Thursday at the same time, 7 Pacific. Got a new set of panelists. Most of them are from my Xbox Achievement Hunting 101 Discord Metroidvania enthusiast group. So that'll be fun to see their picks for Metroidvanias. I've got a message from a number of them while we've been on this stream saying, this is so hard narrowing it down to 5. So
anyways. And then obviously we're going to keep a lot of the stuff here on the Nerd Neo channel. So where you're watching right now. Also, don't forget to go to the @Tons of Fun Games, because that's where some other ones will be as well. I know April 4th, we're going to have top 5 WrestleMania matches. So if you're a big wrestling fan, I believe, yes, Kay is going to be on the show. James is going to be on the show. I think we have one more spot open. So if you see me in Discord, don't be afraid to just be like, hey, do you have an extra spot open? I can let you know. But yeah, we're gonna do top 5 WrestleMania matches to get us ready for obviously Mania in the 2 days prior or after that, I should say. So yeah, we're gonna have some fun there as well. And then after the Metroidvania, I don't know what one is going to be after or before the WrestleMania one, because we'll have another one here on Nerdy Neo's channel too with some gaming information if it's not part 2 for Zelda. But we'll let you all know that is what that's going to be too. And obviously we'd love to hear from what you guys have to think about whatever category we decide to come up with.
So, all right. And we'll go around the horn here, plug what you guys got going on. Dude, I think you're still working on DMC?
I just started DMC 5 on Saturday, and I will be continuing my achievement runs on tomorrow. Thing is, though, I'm probably going to be stuck on it for a little bit since I have to S rank every difficulty for the achievement sets. So that's going to take a bit. And I even have to S rank all the Hell or Hell difficulty, which is you die in one hit. Everything else is like it's on hard.
Yeah, you were telling me about that on Achievement Chasers.
But so far, I mean, I've been playing on easy so far, but the S ranking is actually pretty easy so far. It seems like it's only taking into account the style of points you're putting in into the combat, so it doesn't care about speed or breaking things every time you're going through the game.
Okay,
that's nice.
Yeah, I'm dropping the links in chat, but I also have their links already preloaded into the stream description. So if you're not catching it here, you can catch that after the fact. But cool, yeah. Good luck with some of those crazy challenges on DMCs. Now, is that the last one, or is there one after
DMC
that?
5 is the last one I'll be working on stream.
That's what I thought.
If I work on any more, it's just rehashing what I've already done. But I'll probably just do those on my own. So
yeah, dude does his achievement hunting on Rumble. So I dropped the link to his Rumble channel. He is nuts. Like me, he's an achievement hunter, but he takes it to 11. He's done some way insane stuff that I could never hope to accomplish.
Even though you have way more points than me, I have more. I try to get more crazier achievements.
Yeah, I have more score, but you have a higher difficulty for sure. So go watch him on his crazy achievement hunting ventures on his Rumble channel. And yes, what about you, Kay? I know you and James are always crazy busy. So what do you guys got going on coming up here on your channel?
I purposely tried to make this week a little bit quieter because we've been in a bit of a whirlwind recently, but we do have a few things scheduled this week. And of course, we always drop random streams. So like last night, we did a random Helldiver stream, for example, just for fun. But scheduled stuff out this week at the very least. We have Billion Beat on Thursday, there's essentially a indie game dev that came into our Discord after seeing us on a few different shows. And he was just kind of wondering, like, what do you guys think of my game, all this kind of stuff. And so we're going to actually play the game on stream and we're going to give an honest opinion. So James will be doing that on Thursday. On Saturday, we're going to be on ADH Geek ranking some stuff. So that'll be early in the morning. You'll get to see me at like 8 a.m. being like, what is my life? Why am I here? But I'm happy to be here.
That's what I was like when I came on ADH Geek, because they're a couple hours ahead of me. So it's like 8 a.m. on a Saturday for me. One
of the times I went on there, I went on Ballbusters the night before, and that show can get wild. And James and I drank.
You decided to take the shots. You should start setting limits whenever you go on there.
I still own 26 shots. Okay, I still owe a lot. So maybe next time I'm on the show, which is going to be coming up.
Maybe you should limit it to 10 shots.
But hey, I just want to say for the record, Dermy and James have both gotten wasted, and every time I keep up with them, I'm somehow fine. And people don't even notice me because I'm the one there until the end, and then people are like, "Where's James?" And like, he's fine, and I'm still there saying my whole piece at the end. So I survive, and no one ever points it out. They're like,
the worst you've ever done is yell at Neo after I messed with you after I got you drunk.
That was on my own show.
Yep. Yeah. And that was James's fault because that's you and James's fault because James decided he was going to have an open bar like Dermy for an hour. And then you decided
I blame James for that. I have never brought the bar to my own channel. I've made it clear that we're not necessarily I don't care if
but then you were like,
then
you're going to be like, I'm going to match him.
But like once that was on you. Said like, okay, yeah, fine, we'll drink. I'm like, okay, I'm going to put a time limit on this. And then I'm also going to match him because it's our channel together. And I still survived that stream, even though I was pretty wasted. I still survived. There were theories that I upchucked. That didn't happen. That's not true. I actually held it down. So I'm just saying.
It was still funny the way I exited that stream.
Yeah. You have to go back and watch that one, honestly, to know. It was insane. I yelled at Neo a lot. I yelled at other people. It was funny.
That was fun, though.
But yeah, other than that, we have ADH Geek, and then we have the Gifted Games Gallery on Sunday. So we're going to be featuring a bunch of games that our community gifted to us. And at some point this week, we will do an aftershock to make up for the insane amount of spins as well. So that's kind of what's going on with the channel. We're taking a little bit more mellow. We're working on a side project for the channel as well, which you guys will see very soon. But yeah, I'm happy to be here. Thank you guys for having me. And for anyone that is new in the chat from the Melee Games community, these guys all do great stuff. Nerdy Neo does a lot of great breakdowns. He's got his party chat, and he does his open mic as well. So if you're somebody who likes video games, you just want to chat, he's got a great platform for you. Just come on and you talk about whatever you want. Dude does achievement hunting, and Nerdy Neo and Dude do a stream together where they talk about achievement hunting. I don't agree with achievement hunting at all, but it's still an interesting conversation. So
would Wind Waker make you actually want to get achievements?
Yes. There's a few games I would. Wind Waker is one of them. So
I think you said Fire Emblem was one of the others.
Fire Emblem 7 is the first one that really tempted me. Really, which is the Game Boy Advance.
I think I sent her the list.
I looked at the list and I'm like, I already do all of this in a run anyways. So like, it's literally just me connecting retro achievements and I'm already doing all of it regardless. So I have been tempted. And I want to give Jason a shout out as well too. It's nice to see you doing some more content. Your channel is criminally underrated with the amount of follows you have. People go follow Jason's channel. No, but I know you've been around for a while and maybe you don't put out content nearly as much, but you have so much industry knowledge. And if you're a Mortal Kombat fan, this is the guy to talk to. If you like Final Fantasy, this is the guy to talk to. Like a lot of really great conversations to be had. So this is a great panel of people, and please give them all a follow if you're not already.
Okay, so we might see a top 5 JRPG, but Neo might sit it out.
JRPG, yeah, I'm not going to be on that one. I'll be happy to host it, but I won't be able to give you any.
If I can advocate one thing, if you do a top 5 JRPGs, you should really have Gaming with Spoons on. He was in your chat earlier and I had a conversation with him. So he does retrospectives on his channel, and his whole thing is he deep dives into JRPGs for like 10 hours plus. Oh, and he'll like talk through them. So if you want a quality discussion, like I was like intimidated talking to this man. I was like, yeah, I like this JRPG. And he's like, well, this person in Japan did this, and then this did this, and then this is the message of Final Fantasy VII. And I was like, I just really like the combat in the new one. And he's like, yeah, but this goes against the ethos of the story. Really intelligent guy. Really intelligent guy. If you do any JRPGs, he has to be on this panel. You need to have him here.
Yeah,
all right, I'll put that
with the list that I have over here. Yeah, no, that's definitely on there.
yeah, because I have a friend that's into him as well. He's like, "Are you doing your top 5 JRPGs?"
I'm into
'Cause I'm
JRPGs
there
as
too.
well, so
Yeah,
I wouldn't mind being on that one as well.
absolutely. And then obviously I saw you. There he is.
Hey, there he is.
Yeah, I saw him earlier, and I will definitely reach out to him, or if he ever wants to reach out to me on Discord as well, don't be afraid to, just so I can have you on here, and I will definitely reach out to you when the time comes.
Why am I making him feel bad? It was like awesome. I was so happy to be in the room with someone talking about JRPGs that like knew so much. It was a fun experience. I
You're
think
making
you
him
should
feel
have him on here.
bad for
knowing
him
so
having to
much.
crap on your opinion on the combat of the new Final Fantasy.
Oh my god, no, I'm just dumb with games. Like I have like I'm a generalist with games. Like I'll play a lot of different games, but like I'm not like somebody who deep dives unless I'm really, really passionate about the game. But he's somebody who like he did a huge breakdown on Final Fantasy 9, Final Fantasy 10. He was talking to me about like Xenogears, like all these different games. And Kingdom Hearts was when we were talking about Final Fantasy 7. So he's super knowledgeable. So I'm not that person. I'm not the person that goes, actually here's all this stuff. I'm just like, I like this game. It's good.
Actually,
I like it. It's good.
so
And also,
game's fun.
Paul reminded me about something else that I'm doing. I started streaming with him on Sunday.
yeah, I was just going to bring that up.
We started playing Halo together.
Yeah, Paul and Dude are playing Halo. So yeah,
And I think when we get to 3 players, I think Neo and Insidious Bliss are the
I'm
people that
planning
we're
on
bringing
it.
in.
Yeah, Jake is saying I'm making so many connections in my mind from being in the Melee Discord. Yep, we're all in there, pretty active. So yeah. I think there was something else that I was going to highlight. Oh, yes. JT Epsilon had, yes, this long before I even met Jason, this was already on my list of top 5s to do. So I haven't planned that out yet, but that'll definitely be at some point. But yeah, so for anyone that's new here, pretty much everything on my channel is all video game related. So Jason wants to do some top 5s that are not video game related. So those are going to be on his channel. The wrestling one, I don't know anything about wrestling, so I couldn't partake in that one even if I wanted to. But he wants to do stuff on top 5s on music and movies and stuff. I'm definitely down to join those, but those will be over on his channel. So go sub to him to keep up on those. So, yeah. So I've got the rest of my week is pretty busy as well. So typically, as Kay mentioned, I do open mic. Typically, that's on Thursday night. This week, there's not going to be an open mic because we're doing Metroidvania's round 2. But if anyone anyone in chat ever wants to just come on and talk video games with me, typically on Thursday nights, I have a guest on and we just talk about video games, no topics. If you can bring a topic if you want, but I don't have any topics planned. We just start talking about video games and go wherever the conversation takes us. So if that sounds interesting to you, reach out to me on Discord or Twitter. Those are probably the best ways to get a hold of me, and we'll get something scheduled. We can talk video games. And also, as Melee mentioned, Ballbusters. I'm going to be on Ballbusters on Friday at 8 Pacific. So I don't know exactly what I'm getting myself into, even though I have watched a few Ballbusters. I will be having
just pick on Dermy and you're fine.
Yeah,
you'll fit right in.
I will be having some alcohol with me. I don't know if I'm going to be taking shots as much as everyone else because I do have to be up and doing stuff on Saturday mornings. But I think that's going to be fun. And then the next episode of Party Chat is going to be on Saturday at its regular 11:30. With the guest host is Carl of Dojima, who is recently returned from his vacation in Hawaii. So that's going to be fun. And
so
then
if we see him on camera, he should be more tan, right?
I'm not sure if he's made a face reveal on YouTube. So I don't know if there's anything to compare that with to see if he is more tan than he was. Gotcha. But he should be more tan, I would assume. And then right after that, assuming that it still pans out, I'm going to be on Reality Base at Ryan Roger Athay's channel. We've been going back and forth for like 2 months now, where just things have come up and we had to cancel and reschedule. So fingers crossed it'll actually happen this time. And then Saturday night, I'm planning on doing my first real full, inspired by James, gaming roulette stream. I've been wanting to do that. Originally, I was just going to do Xbox, but now that I've got a little bit of Steam library, I've got retro achievements and stuff. I've built a spreadsheet, and I've got a wheel, so it doesn't have to be just one platform. And I've been figuring out, because of space and stuff, I've been installing stuff on different places so that I can have it all installed, so I don't have to worry about stuff downloading. But I'm going to do a roulette stream and let the wheel pick what I'm going to be playing. So Yeah, I think that's about it for the rest of this week. So thank you again for everyone hanging out with us. Love to see you
Thank
all you guys being so active. That's probably a new record. Like I said, it is a new record for concurrent viewers and probably a couple other records on my channel. So I appreciate you guys. Yeah, reach out to me if you ever want to talk video games. Or oh yeah, for those who don't know, Party Chat is we have specific topics where we talk about fun stuff like who's the most annoying character in video games, or what's the hardest game you ever played, or stuff like that. So that one is more structured. But yeah, come listen to that if that sounds like fun to you, because it is a lot of fun. So thank you everyone for joining me on the panel, everyone in chat. Appreciate you guys hanging out with us, and we will see you all next time. In the meantime, game on.